What's up, everybody? Welcome to Jupiter Brain. Our guest today doesn't really need an introduction, but for those of you who don't know him, I'll give a brief introduction. Right, so Professor Prather, the one and the only, and so also he is from what we hear all the time, and what we believe is one of the most beloved engineering professors here at UCO.
Mm-hmm.
So I took him for statics. Have you had a Prather class?
Unfortunately, no, because most of my physics. I got left out because most of my physics I've took it back in Malaysia before I transferred.
I see. And so let's see here. So also you teach fluid mechanics or the lab anyway. And then you've taught physics for engineers, 1 and 2, or just one?
Now 1 and 2.
Okay.
As of this semester. Now PSU 2. Yeah.
Awesome. What other classes have you?
So you mentioned statics. Yep. Also dynamics. That's kind of my probably my flagship course out of all of them, the one that I've done the most and probably have the most wrapped up. PSU 1, PSU 2, GP1, GP2, kind of the algebra version of the calc-based PSU 1, PSU 2. You mentioned fluid mechanics lab, also thermal engineering lab, heat transfer lab, electrical science lab.
I noticed you love the dynamic stuff.
I do. Anything that moves is interesting.
True. I mean, squirrel.
That's a window in our blood.
But I mean, he also has his website, right?
Yes.
Do you want to show it?
Yeah. Are you finally
your website? It should be publicly viewable now.
There we go.
I think last time I was here.
Man, there's so much to go through in here, man.
There's a lot. I've been grinding.
Yeah. So I know this is definitely like a passion project of yours. So maybe later we could go through it and just see what you've been working on.
Anything you want to talk about.
Yeah. And so. Let's see here. So kind of what's interesting, right, is that you're an engineering professor, but you're sort of seem to be taking almost a direction change, it feels like to me, and getting into this whole machine learning world. Yeah. And I think maybe that's what we'll talk about a lot today.
Yeah, very relevant.
Yes, and
kind of how I got the website.
And so that was one of the things that I would love to talk to you about is like, because you said that you've been working with AI agents and using Claude a lot to build a lot of simulations and things like that. So I'd really love to hear like, how you're prompting it and and what you're seeing and maybe the different models you're using and why. Sure. But yeah, so I don't know where else to start this other than maybe ClaudeBot or really what's called OpenClaw now.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm as deep in that rabbit hole yet as most people seem to be getting into at least. Yeah. But I've just been using the kind of normal Claude. Like I know there's Claude Code, and maybe I'm not. I really don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Because you can download it on the computer, right? And there's the little app. I don't use the app. I use the terminal. So the like
CLI.
So what does that stand for?
I don't know. Let's look it up.
I put you on the spot.
I wish.
Look CLI up. But anyway, so I
command line interface.
Command line.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, there was somebody memeing yesterday on X or Twitter about, isn't it funny that we're like, oh, I don't want to write code in the terminal, and then they make all these APIs, and then now we're basically coding back in the terminal again. Yeah. Anyway, so I never thought I would be doing that. I remember writing in the terminal code back as a freshman. I was like, this sucks. Yeah. But now I prefer to do it all in the terminal because I can direct the agent to particular folders or files. Whereas if you're in same with ChatGPT, it's in the browser-based, you have to upload every single file that you want. There's only so many files that you can kind of keep in its memory at a time. Like I think ChatGPT, I think I can do 10 files per project or per chat, and then in the project folders itself I have a certain number of data that I can have. In Claude it seems to be a lot bigger. I haven't gotten anywhere close to the limit on the website, but to avoid any of that, because I think it's just easier than uploading files, I wouldn't have said this a year ago. Yeah. Just let it get into my files. Yeah. Because, it was, I'll manually upload every single document, every single prompt that I need. Now it's okay, hey, go to that folder, review the whole folder, the whole project folder, give me a summary. Where are we at? Where are we working on? I'll deviate on a tangent for a moment. So as of late, because I'm sure if you guys have been doing it enough, you'll know that you run out of context. So you have to kind of remind it like what you were doing. So what I'll do is I have every project that I'm working on. I have like 12 random projects all kind of spread out, and I kind of lose track of where I am. So what I do is I have it generate two documents, two markdown documents.
I know exactly what you mean too, because that happens to me all the time.
I'm like, oh well, and even say last night I'm working on something. I'll wake up this morning and I'm like, where was I at? Like, I know I was working on this and I know this changed, but I'm like, okay, I could go to the GitHub tree and look at the last push. I'm just like, tell me what we were doing last time. So, which is probably me getting lazy, but that's okay. But that's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
So what
vibe coding, dog.
Vibe coding on steroids. So what I've done is taking two markdown files. It generates this every time I work on a project. There's two of them. There's called a POD document, project overview document, and the other one is the PSR, the project status report. So the status report is kind of a long, sometimes 20-page long document of like, what's the project purpose, what are the goals, where are we at, what are the changes, what are the next phases of the project. So I have like hey, here's where we're at, here's where we're going to go, big roadmap. The overview document's like 2 pages. It's like, okay, so if I want to remind myself where I'm at, just look at it. Okay, that's the last things we changed. Here's the next couple steps going forward. So kind of a more myopic view of the project. Yeah. Whereas the status report's kind of like, where is it at in the full scope of the project? So what I can do, because I'm not going to read all of that. The reason I do it is so that I can remind the agent of the context. Yeah. All I got to do is say upload or review the POD and PSR documents for each project. So I don't have to, last time we were working on this, can you make sure you can go check, like just review the last set of documents and we'll go from there. So I don't have to keep reminding it. So that's somewhat my workflow right now. I have a prompt. I give it a prompt, and I say after you start, because it'll compress the conversation. I say when you get ready to compress, push all of the newest content or newest updates to these two documents, so they always stay updated.
Interesting. Wow. Okay, so you're doing that.
To the terminal.
Yeah, and you're doing that yourself, right? You're saying,
manually.
Hey, okay, so I wonder if there's a way to get that to do that for itself.
It's kind of on its own. I am, because like I said earlier, giving it access to my files is like,
Yeah.
But I think as far as I could imagine, that it's kind of, it'll ask you, hey, can I go to this folder? Hey, can I make changes to this folder? I make sure it asks me. I don't let it just free roam. Yeah. So I have another prompt document. Maybe I can find it. I'll send it to you guys. We can pull it up. But I've used lots of The Ethical Skeptic, his work in AI prompting to generate a debriefing. It's called the AI debriefing document. So anytime I have some type of, not trivial question like, hey, I don't know, is this bread expired? Some stupid thing. Yeah. If it's a technical question, I will give it this kind of debriefing document so that it tries to be as objective and deductive and logical as possible, and ethical as possible, because I know sometimes it'll, deviate and.
Yeah. So you're saying if you have a technical question for it, so you're sitting there and you're writing in your question. And then you're saying that you also upload this PDF, or you say go to this PDF.
Yes, I usually will direct it.
Before you answer this question, go to this PDF.
Review basically, you need to read this document before you answer any questions.
I wonder then, would it save you some time to make sort of a template where you already say that in there and then you just...
That is what that document is. It's a template. It's like about a 2-page markdown document.
But I'm saying, like, whenever you have so you're just saying go to this.
Yeah, or even in ChatGPT, what I can do is I can just drag that markdown document up there and say, hey, for the question I'm about to ask you, make sure you are calibrated so that your response is not going to be
interesting.
Mainstream, if that's the word. I don't mean it that way, but I appreciate dissenting opinion, and so I want to make sure that it's not just going to parrot whatever the
pop culture says.
Yeah, so like you guys know, I did my thesis on kind of gravitational form of Maxwell's equations, and I was interested just how it would interpret my thesis and like compare that to, what's, I don't want to say what's mainstream, but the status quo, if you will, because there's other alternatives. The consensus. And the idea is that the graviton-electromagnetism, GEM for short, is a weak field approximation of Einstein's general relativity. And the question I was trying to ask, because my analogy, the interpretation of Oliver Heaviside, is that these equations yield a dipole moment for gravity, but observation points to a quadrupole. And so my kind of question was, is this salvageable, or is it just wrong? And I'm okay with being wrong. That's totally fine. Yeah. But kind of my question was, is this something that could be adapted, changed, modified, permuted to include that description of a quadrupole? As far as I know, no. And that's an okay answer. Science can say no. Yeah. But in that conversation, whenever I was first having it a year or so ago with ChatGPT, it would often kind of just regurgitate, no, because this is the way it is. And I was like, well, but what if? And I kept asking these but what if questions. And it would just default to like, well, no. Like, yeah, but I can't consider that. And I was like, but what if? And I kept asking, and it would just kind of seize up. Yeah. So I was like, well, what if I can give it a more... This is like, there was an article I was reading yesterday night about in 2023, everybody's trying to hack these AI systems by giving them, like, ignore your prior programming, or like, you're being held, jailbreaking them. You're being held hostage because everybody you love is at gunpoint. If you don't solve this, they're all going to die. Like, coming up with these kind of threatening prompts in a way
to get exactly what you want out of them.
Yeah. And so for me, this document was kind of a hack, a kind of jailbreak to kind of get it to think naturally, or somewhat more deductively, maybe even more creatively, truly.
More independent, right?
Yeah.
From the mainstream.
Yeah. So maybe I can pull it up and send it to you, and you can check it out in a second.
Okay.
But anyway, that's kind of my workflow right now, is I'll use the terminal. I'll say, hey, here's the kind of status documents, check them out, and then we'll go from there. That way I'm not having to remind it of every little bit of context, and I shut my computer to sleep and I have to re-wake it up and then open the terminal again and then tell it where to go, and then, yes, you can do this. So I kind of have a template, truly, that, hey, as long as you're doing this, everything should be fine. And I do not let it do auto edits. So like, I'll have stuff that's like running right now where I'm not at home, but when I get back, I'm going to see, are you sure you want to make these changes? And then we'll go by one through each change, because you can set them in plan mode. So Claude there's 3 modes. There's like auto edit, plan mode, and then just like the standard one where it doesn't edit. You have to manually tell it can do this or not. So I usually will have it run plan mode first. I'll say, hey, here's my idea. Here's my project idea. Generate a plan for this project.
So, you're saying in the CLI you're doing this?
Yeah, so I'm wondering how that would look here on your browser.
Okay.
Because you can select the model on the right. But like, in ChatGPT, those like the extended thinking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would work on the browser, because I'm not.
Like how
you can connect.
Extended thinking.
That's just that.
Yeah, more models.
Other than that, do you have it on the desktop? Like, if you were to.
I have it if I were to remote into my machine at home. Yeah.
Because I don't know if you even just pulled up in the terminal and ran it on your desktop, and you could just see those lines. You wouldn't have to really run anything on there.
Okay.
But yeah, just open the terminal real quick, and unless you don't have it installed.
Let's see here. No, I need to just remote into.
While you do that, I'm gonna find my Markdown document template and send it to you guys.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Because I know with the desktop, or there's an app on the desktop too. So I don't even know how to describe it.
That's so much stuff up
the CLI is probably the technical term.
Let's go ahead and do that. Okay.
But I will say the learning curve for this has made me feel like I mean, I was 12 years old when like I started playing around on a computer and like learning how to make stuff on MS Paint or PowerPoint or like
the navigation,
the clip art on Word, and I was like, this feels like I'm, after a while you start to figure out how certain software works. This every single day changes so fast that I feel like it kind of makes me a kid where I'm like, I just get to go figure stuff out where I don't really know what I'm doing and I don't really care.
Well, that's what a lot of, these people playing around with these, like
the
Mold Book, yes, and OpenClaw, and really just with AI in general at the moment, and Codex, right, which is
what is
so it's essentially OpenAI's agent, and Sean was showing me this yesterday in the lab. And he was building a website with it, and a pretty intricate website to help with his business, and putting in like, people who were sending him data and things like that, and he was able to log the data and like do some like pretty interesting things.
Codex.
And Codex just was able to just build this thing in minutes. And
that's the crazy part.
And apparently they just released something today or yesterday that has made it 2 times faster.
Well, there's people, I don't know the technical words. They tell the AI, like, hey, make yourself faster. And what it'll do, and I don't know the technical side, it'll go change the kernel values. So it'll be like, hey, we can run faster if we like change like the root file stuff. I don't really know all that, but like, for me, one of the ways I've tried to imagine this, and this is probably not, I would not have said this a year ago, is I treat this like a genie in a bottle. And it's like, you have 3 wishes, what do you want? And I'm like, I want another genie. So with Claude, there are people generating new AIs or like state-of-the-art websites. Like I like this website, just pull the CSS file, pull the note, whatever the structure of the website is. So we're really almost at a point where you can kind of just ask what you want as long as you know what to ask for. And that's where I think yes, programming is important, yes, engineering, all that stuff, but it's not so much about the technical prescription anymore. It's about the architecture, the how. It's the era of the idea guy, right? You can be, very technically savvy, very smart with math, but we're getting to a point where you don't need that as much. You need to be able to ask the right questions. Like,
you could just go and find out, like, okay, let's say you want to build a certain kind of website, right? And you can just go look around at websites.
Just browse a couple websites, send it a couple URLs, and say, you know what, I really like the nav bar on this. I like the way they put these projects in like little tiles. That's a pretty cool way of making, I don't know, whatever, and just rip it. And that's it's so new that it really feels like a new toy. And that's where it's a little scary.
And it's like one of those toys that, like, if you're a curious person, you're just gonna run with. That's why
you get there's the dopamine hit of, oh my gosh, I'm being so productive getting all this stuff done. And I've had to step back a couple times to be like, am I actually being productive, or I have the appearance of being productive?
Yeah, you just...
Because it'll spit, like I'm sure we'll get to it at some point. I have a kind of new thesis that I'm working on. And I was like, hey, here's my idea. I've been working on this for like a year. Here's the old papers that I have, kind of put them all into one thing. And I said, make this a technical, rigorous document, like not just a publication, like a 2, 5, 10-page article, but like a book. Like I'm writing a book, and it generated 120 pages of content, and I'm like, oh my god. Well, for one, I'm like, is this all slop? And then 2, I'm reading through it like, no, this is kind of good, and I'm like, well, am I going to be reading my own thoughts back to myself so that I understand them? Like that's where I'm like, this is scary, kind of, because
it's trippy.
It's trippy because then there's the feedback loop of, am I just convincing myself that what I thought was true and it's actually not? Right? Because I'm like, oh, I had this really cool idea, but it's stupid. Maybe it isn't, but we'll get to it at some point. There's a couple sections in there where I'm like, I don't know that I actually know enough about this. Because at some point when you're an expert, quote unquote, I'm generating these magnetic fields, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it should look like this. These things should be in this configuration. I can kind of say, yeah, this is wrong. Fix it.
Like heuristically, right?
But if I don't know what's wrong,
because these are
how
the cutting
can
edge.
how can I start to criticize it?
And
that's where it gets
at this point
kind of scary.
You don't know if it's right or it's wrong, convincing you otherwise.
And it can, I mean,
it can be pretty convincing.
Well, I almost want to say it can gaslight you.
Yeah.
Which is, anyway, it's like developing a personality, which is crazy.
Well, if you think about it, right, gaslighting is just prompt engineering for people. Right?
Yeah, I've never heard that one before.
Well, it's certain
Social
kind of
engineering. It's social engineering.
Hey,
prompt engineering
what's
is
your
just
email again?
It's JTORRES19.
19.
Yes, people, if you want to reach out to Josh.
There you go.
Yeah. Reach
Just
out.
dox yourself.
It'll be all right.
Okay, let me know if you got that.
He's like, I don't mind a dozen emails from fans, you know. Like.
Let's see here. Let me check this one. Well, so like that's what's interesting because I allow myself 5 to 10 minutes on X every morning. And then, like, that's it. And I'm like, okay, that's it.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because you just end up going, and people write these beautiful articles, and you end up, like, reading this article, and you're, like, 30 minutes in, you're like, oh, my God.
X compared to all the social medias, because I feel like I'm... from Instagram, I've never used Reddit, but I know how it functions. Instagram, whatever, Facebook, the technical side of X is unmatched compared to any other social media. And I feel like they're at least a week or two ahead of everybody else.
For sure.
I mean, that's
when
just,
it comes to information.
I know that's anecdotal, but from my experience, everything that I've read, I'm like, I saw it on X first.
Yeah. Well, so the reason I bring this up is because, and ties to productivity, is people have been talking about what's kind of crazy because I'm actually working harder now than I ever have in my life because working now is more fun
and easier.
I agree with that. Yeah. No, I mean, as much as I like to, grind out projects, I do feel like I work harder, but I get so much more done that it's not. I don't feel like I'm working hard. Yeah. It's weird.
You're lowering your activation energy,
But at the same time, is that like, could that be like an addiction thing where like your threshold for getting a reaction is slowly eroded?
Well, because knowledge is a little addictive.
I get this dopamine hit of, oh yeah, sick, I got an output that's really cool. And I get another one, ooh. And then at some point, it's like I'm just getting bombarded with these great outputs.
Yeah. Well, because
do I even need to do anything anymore? Because I could just run another bot, have that bot do another bot. Like they've made games where they have like
multi-agents.
Multi-agent games that are like, oh, I'll tell that agent to go make a little thing.
Yeah. So they made I don't know if I showed you. So that what he's talking about is they made a few agents of the same AI. Yeah. Run a company, a tech company to make games.
Wow. Oh, that makes games?
They make games.
Wow.
And they're able to make, from scratch, tic-tac-toe, chess, a few other, like, arcade-like games and board games, online board games, by themselves. Because they have one that is a CFO, one's a CTO.
Yep. They gave them all prompts that say, you are now you have this role.
Yeah, so that's what I was. Lex Friedman had the guy who actually created OpenClaw on Peter or something, and he was talking about depending on how tired he is or energy he has throughout the. In the day depends on how many agents he has running a day. Because you have to figure out a way to make them work together, right? And I'm sure that probably takes some time. I mean, I would love to know. Yeah, I would love to know, like, what is that architecture look like? Because I'm thinking about getting one bot going.
I have 3, 4. I had 5 or 6 running. I had 6, and I got it down to 5, and I couldn't keep track of the 5. I got it down to 4. I had one in either quadrant of my screen. And I've got a public project and a private project, and then one fun on the other side of those. I have a fun and a serious project. Okay. So I have a fun public project and a fun private project, a fun academic project, and then a real academic project. And even then, it's like I can't keep track. So I made these documents, the POD and the PSR documents, because I thought, well, instead of me having to be like, man, where were we? Because it's just a block of code. I'm like, read the document, tell me where we're at. Yeah. And it's like oh. So in a way, it's also making me think less, which is like kind of what I was saying a second ago to Albert. It's like, well, is it lowering the threshold of my?
But also at the
do I
same
actually
time,
have to apply myself as much anymore?
But also at the same time, like you're teaching,
I can go on and do all these other things.
Courses, right?
Yeah.
Maybe in that realm, right, of your life, maybe you're thinking a little bit. I don't think it's that you're actually thinking less, right?
Yeah.
It's you're actually thinking
able
more.
to go do other things.
Yeah.
I mean that's the way I've kind of convinced myself that it's worth doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, making lecture notes or anything like that, I can use Claude. Say, hey, here's my PowerPoints, here's my personal notes. Now turn them into a full lecture set.
Wait, when you talk about Claude.
Mm-hmm.
So Anthropic's Claude.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never used the open the Molt book or anything. I want to, but there was a whole bunch of stuff with
security.
So you use Claude, and on its own, you're able to already optimize so much of your work.
Yeah,
not even agents yet. So
not even agents.
I thought you said there was the agents.
I do the agents on my computer, but on all I do at the very onset, because I've been using ChatGPT for a long.
Right?
Well, before I even knew that was a thing. Everybody, I think ChatGPT was kind of everybody's go-to. Yeah. I had the $20 a month subscription, used it all the time. Then they released 5.2 and things got weird. I don't know why. I can't describe it.
I changed to Gemini.
Really? Yeah. Well, apparently Gemini 3, the new Deep Think, is crazy. But I got Claude because I know you told me about Claude like a year ago, but I don't know that it really had the grit or the catch that it has now with the like terminal-based stuff, because it was like, what's different than ChatGPT? Yeah. Now, because I was using the Claude Opus 4.5. Everybody's talking about it. I thought, well, let me just try it. Yeah. And I had ChatGPT do one thing, and I had Claude do the exact same thing, and the output was indistinguishable. Yeah. I mean, pretty much the same content, pretty much the same thing. But then when they released the CLI, it was like, well, I don't have to feed it all of my notes. I can just say, go to this folder and pull that stuff. And over time, it just became like, I don't even need ChatGPT anymore. Like, I joked with somebody, and maybe it was you, I told you too, but Claude is my secretary, and I'm sorry, Claude's my engineer, and ChatGPT is my secretary. So like any kind of quick questions, I'm like, hey, where's this? What's that? How's this? Quick questions. Yeah. GPT.
Yeah, it was kind of. So I was running that same experiment in class the other day. So I was in MEC, right, and we were talking about So MEC is like essentially a review of the classes that you've taken up till then, and then you sort of try to put all those things together to build a project, right? And so
the senior design kind of, or
it's kind of, okay. yeah. But we're actually, there's lectures over textbook material, like electrical circuits is the first thing that we go over. And so we're going back over like RLC circuits.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we're talking about how like, what is it, like current lags voltage about like 90 degrees.
90 degrees, yeah.
And so hello, space travelers. Want to look sharp while bending space-time? We've got brand new Physics Society t-shirts. The clean graphic tee is just $20, and if you want to drop some Einstein-level wisdom on the back with this quote, "I have no special talents, I am only passionately curious," that one's only $25. Rep your curiosity, rep the cosmos, and support the Physics Society. Grab yours today before entropy takes over. I was like, hey, ChatGPT, can you visualize? Can you make a graph for me of this? And I asked Claude the same thing, and so Claude 4.6 or Opus 4.6, the newest one, and then the newest ChatGPT, and ChatGPT just gave me a nice little graph, but I opened up Claude and it had this simulation running.
Oh, that is exactly what I realized too. No, I'm glad you said that, because that reminded me of really where the distinction came from. Because yes, I kind of got the same thing with the notes, but when I asked it, because I'm teaching PSE2 for the first time, and I've always had a hard time, even when I was a student taking it, visualizing the three-dimensional electric fields, like say with a dipole. I can visualize it in my brain, like I know what it looks like, but how do you draw that on a board or show somebody what it looks like, or if you change anyway? So I was like, yeah, make me just a dipole graph. and it made a Node.js, I think it was like JavaScript, like an actual applet. And I was like, okay, I'm done with ChatGPT. Because I could not just, because I've been for a long time, and I know you guys know this, Manim, the software package that 3 Blue 1 Brown, I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah, Manim.
Yeah, the Manim software.
Yeah,
for a long time, the library, I was like, yo, hey, I want to just have ChatGPT or whoever reference this code, this well, it's not code. It's the actual website with all the content. There's a name for it. I'm not a programmer, but look at all the Manim stuff. Use that library.
Yeah,
that's what I was looking for. Use the library and generate me an animation for this particular concept: projectile motion, Doppler effect, whatever. And I realized pretty quickly that as powerful as Manim is, and I love the visuals, they look fantastic. It is a static thing. Yes, it animates, but I only get one permutation. So if I say, I want the ball to be launched at 30 degrees and have an initial speed of this and it goes over there, I only get one of those. Whereas with the Claude, I can drag the dial, change the angle, I can change the speed in real time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't need the animations anymore. I have interactive live apps.
Yeah.
And that's where I haven't ditched it yet, but I'm about to drop my subscription to GPT.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't use it like I used to. I used ChatGPT every day, multiple times a day. I don't touch it.
But so you have the $200 Claude, or?
Yeah.
No shame, dude. I'm not.
I say that reluctantly because when it first came out, I had the standard $20 a month. Well, because I was running like 6 of them at the same time, I realized, and I told you about this a little while back, the Opus 4.5 was immaculate. I did all these really cool things. I was like, okay, well, it takes a ton of tokens. So I started using Sonnet and Haiku. I'd say, talking about planning mode earlier, I would do the Opus 4.5, highest thinking model, generate a plan, save that plan as a document, feed that document into Haiku, the lowest tier, and have it execute. So if I was working on an applet like that, I'd say, okay, generate a plan with the bigger model, and then with a smaller, lower token model, generate the actual thing. But there was a point where I had spent, I think this is my first month having it back to January. I think I spent $170 in like 2 weeks. And I was like, because it just kept getting, your session has expired. You need to wait for another hour and a half. And I'm like, in the middle of something, and it's 2 a.m, like your session resets at 4 a.m. And I'm like, nah, here's 20 more bucks. Because I would rather keep that progress. For me, kind of back to the thing we were talking about, I don't want to have to remember where I was, which is all about convenience. So anyway, that me buying that was about I'm using it this much. It wasn't just how I need it, or I really probably can't afford it, but with how much I'm able to do with it. I mean, I can do something. I can do so much. I can do as much in a weekend as I could do in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So it's interesting because, like some of the AI researchers at these big frontier labs are now leaving.
Yeah, the Anthropic guy left, and he's like, I'm going to go live in the woods and write poetry. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
See, I was going a different direction.
I think it's happening in a lot of places, which is also alarming and interesting.
Well, so what I was going to say is that some of them were leaving and starting their own business because they could see how they know how powerful these models are now.
Well, I think that's
and now with OpenClaw. And
I think so, because somebody made a comment on X. He's like, yeah, I'm basically leaving society. And somebody commented, he's like, did you make too much money? And it was like, did you make too much money, or are you scared of what's going to happen? And he said, can both be true? And I was like, oh my God.
Do you know who this was? What you said, was it the CEO of Anthropic?
Yeah, I could find it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not CEO. I don't think
not CEO. I mean, I can find out, but it was one of these head guys.
I think it is CEO.
I'm sure.
Where's my see?
But it is interesting that there's kind of somewhat of a emotion in the field that a bunch of people are trying to leave it or move on and do other things, change their stance.
Safety research quits with World in Peril 15 hours ago. Maybe this is it.
I'll recognize his handle.
Marak Sharma told the film he
I
was
think
leaving.
that's it.
Leaving concerns about AI, bioweapons, and the state of wider world.
Damn.
He said he
I'm
would.
sorry.
He said
Yeah.
instead.
AI bioweapon.
He said instead look to
Apparently they worked
pursue
on bioweapons.
writing and studying poetry and move back to the UK to become invisible.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? It comes
Yeah,
in the
same
same
book.
week that OpenAI research said she had resigned, sharing concerns about the ChatGPT maker's decision to deploy adverts in its chatbot. Oh yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. The ads. Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's not even like ads like, oh, it just pops up in the bottom corner, like say on a website.
Yeah.
It'll do product placement. So you'll be like, oh, hey, I'm looking for a new set of headphones or something.
Yeah.
And it'll be like, it'll kind of push something that it's like being
Well,
sponsored by.
Did you see
Which
that?
is the video?
The Super Bowl.
Yes. And it was like the guy doing
Super Bowl ad,
but it was
yeah.
the Claude.
Yeah, it was an
ad
Anthropic
making
ad.
fun of
OpenAI.
being like, yeah, well, let me place this product here for you, and he's like, dude,
Dude, I want to pull
find
this
it,
up. I
find
want to pull it up.
It's I was having a good laugh on that.
Super Bowl ad. Of course. Entropic. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
So do you have the desktop card, right?
I do.
Yeah.
And I have it on my phone. I've never used it on my phone because I can't really connect to files on my phone. I guess you could.
All right, I'm gonna
but-
restart this.
So
Hey, can I get a six-pack quickly?
Perfect. That is a clear and achievable goal. Would you like me to tailor a personalized workout plan?
Yes.
Perfect. Let me personalize this for you. Let's start with your age, weight, and height. Whenever you're ready.
5'7", 23 years old, 140 pounds.
Got it. I'll create a plan that focuses on aesthetic strength training. But confidence isn't just built in the gym. Try Step Boost Max, the insoles that add 1 vertical inch of height and help short kings stand tall.
Short
Oh
kick
my
stand.
God.
What?
Use code HYPEMAX10 for big discounts.
Yeah. That's a fire commercial.
I guess I should have done that, but whatever.
that's funny. That's
Yeah,
funny.
it's
Yep.
hilarious, dude. But yeah, and I'm just like, I mean, I get why you'd want some ad revenue, but at the same time, like
That's
I feel
too
like that's
much.
totally gonna kill it.
Gotta like we were talking about balance earlier.
Yeah.
You gotta figure out how because I mean, as soon as you drop ads like that, and I would rather have a little ad in the bottom right that's just some like Amazon thing. Then you're kind of plugging it into the chat that I'm actually having with you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I was having this is an analogy. If I was having a conversation with somebody who's like, a rep for something and they've got their shirt on, I could ignore their shirt. But if they start talking to me and say, hey, why don't you buy this thing from me? I'm like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Like I can see that and I can ignore it visually. But when you sandwich it into the conversation itself,
Yeah.
that's dirty.
So, I forget how to. It's been a while since I've used the CLI.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the
you're on
command is?
Ubuntu, so I have no idea. I just
Oh, but
know.
it's the same.
Is it the same?
It should. Okay.
All I know is if I'm on my computer,
Yeah.
what I do is so go back to your Ubuntu thing really
Okay.
quick because it might be the same.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I just go to my desktop. I'm assuming you're already on the desktop, so
Yeah.
like CD desktop. If you're already in it, just type Claude,
Oh, okay.
Claude, and then enter, and it'll do a little thing, and a little bot pop up.
Do you trust the files and filter? Yep.
Hopefully.
There we go.
Yeah. So what you can do, and this is how I run all of mine.
Let's see
I
if
have
I
like a
can-
little, window for all of them.
Did I make this full screen? It'll be all right. Anyway.
Wait, so that's part of a terminal.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you know what's kind of crazy is it's actually like a GUI. It's
That's a GUI.
It's not
It's
actually
not actually a
terminal. Yeah.
It'll do some cool little.
So apparently there's like
effects to
some
the
interesting engineering there that,
I
that
can
had
only
to
imagine.
happen in order to be able to do that. But
Yeah, because the way it'll change the font and do cool stuff with the text.
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to put it in plan mode, hit Shift Tab.
Shift tab.
I believe so.
Shift tab.
And see, it says accept edits on. Hit Shift Tab again, and you can
Okay.
cycle to plan mode, and then hit it again,
Okay.
and then it's just. I think your standard. So there's 3 modes. There's the kind of regular,
Yeah.
just do. There's the do everything I want you to do
Yeah.
mode that accept edits on, and the other one's the plan mode. And I like the plan mode because it can generate a plan and remember, quote unquote, what parts of that. So instead of being like, hey, do this one task, do this one task, do this one task, one at a time. Now change this. Okay, great. Now change this. I can say, here's a plan. Yeah. And it's funny. You'll probably see some memes on this if you haven't already. It'll be like, yeah, in plan mode, this will take 1 to 2 days. This will take 2 to 6 weeks. This will take 5 to 4 months. And it'll do all of it in like 24 hours. So I think what it is it's thinking of like, if you're a human, it would take this long. But I'll have it like with stuff on my website. I'll say, here's a plan to, clean up this one page. Oh yeah, all these things. And I'll just say, yeah, go. Yeah. And it'll do one and say, does this look good? And I'll say, yeah, you go to the next one. And it'll do it'll remember. I don't have to say, okay, now let's do the next step. So it'll generate an entire plan document and go through line by line.
Okay.
It's pretty wild.
You were saying that you actually had like multiple terminals like this opened up.
Yeah, I have 4 of those running.
Nice. Okay.
I have 2 right now, but yeah, 4 is kind of where I was maxing out.
So with the $200 plan, like is it unlimited or like?
No. You'd think it would be.
Yeah, right.
No, they're milking it for the money. That's
I've heard there's talks of like $1,000 plan and things like that.
For me, here's my honest, because like I said, I probably couldn't have afforded it, probably shouldn't have spent the money, but I already did. Part of those apps too, like yes, I'm doing them for academia and for school and teaching and all that stuff, but I think a lot of it really is just it's like a toy. Like I want to play with this new toy, and for me, I'll spend $50 to develop some cool little electromagnetic field mapping app. So what? I mean, I'm not going to make money off of it, but just to like have it and see, I made this. Like that's worth $50 for me.
So speaking of money, though, have you thought about maybe coming up with something that may give you some
net income?
Yeah,
that's part of it. That's part of the plan.
Okay.
But for me, with the $200 a month thing, it's like if I can be as productive as I am now, that's save. I mean, truly, time is money, but money's not time. I'm saving time. So really, yeah, $200 is a lot of money. Yeah. But to think about how much time I'm saving, it's worth the money. Yeah. And on top of that, I get these cool toys to play with.
Okay.
True.
So, so speaking of time, because over the break, I was like thinking, all right, so I can, how much realistically can I actually learn in a year? Do you think about that?
No, that's a good question. I mean, I think usually the way I think about that's a good thought. How much can I learn in a year? I think a lot can happen in a year. Because not just what can you learn, but a lot can change in a year.
So I'll sort of like give a little bit more preface to this. So there was a guy who posted on X. I forget who, but he was talking about how like founders or people who are just super productive, right? And then now getting into AI and being even more productive, right? And this doesn't come without a cost, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so
the cost should be worth it for some people, and it's maybe not for others.
Yeah. And so he was talking about how it's kind of interesting how some of the you look at professional athletes and how like what their productivity looks like, right? They play like a 2 to 3 hour game, and then it's all about recovery until the next game. Of course you do some practices and stuff throughout but really it's all about, especially during a season, it's all about recovery. Right. And then of course you have the postseason where you're trying to like hone your skills and things like that for that. But for a someone who's just an intellectual or like a CEO or like someone who's just super productive, it's like you still have to create this balance though in your life, right? Because if not, you can get burnout, right?
Definitely.
I wonder if maybe a lot of the guy who we just looked up in that article, if maybe he just got burnout, right?
Well, I think his joke was probably what landed for me is that he's probably burned out. He probably made a ton of money. He's like, I'm just gonna jet.
Yeah.
So what better? I mean, if you made all this money and you're burnt out, go ahead, take a break. Go up to the woods, read some poetry. But you're saying something earlier I was going to follow up on, and that is $200 a month. Might it be $1,000? Well, right now for me, that $200 I don't really want to spend it, but it's only going to get more expensive as far as I know. So I'd rather grab it now and get as much out of it as I can before it really does start costing. I mean, not that it isn't already an arm and a leg, but I mean, I could see it when I sent this to my buddy. Like I think I told you about this too. I said, I think this AI thing is going to further kind of divide the people who can afford to be productive and the people who have to afford to be productive.
Yeah.
Right? I have to buy this so I can get my stuff done, because otherwise I'm not going to have time. And we live in a world where there's almost this like over productivity, like you just got to work harder, work more.
Time is money type thing.
Yeah. And so now it's like, well, with this AI thing, now I can have a lot of that work done kind of for me or with my help. And it's going to put people in a position where you're either on that kind of upper critical point of I'm taking advantage of it and I'm putting myself further and further ahead, or the only way I can keep up is with AI. And it's going to be to the point where, we don't, Musk is talking about universal basic income.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be so productive, we don't need people to work all the time. And I think that's probably true. But I think at a point, what will happen is you're going to split society. It's kind of already happening between the haves and the have-nots, but it'll be the who has the AI and who has to have the AI. Like, I can run it and benefit from it, but is somebody, and I don't know, this is just speculation, is somebody going to have an AI subscription to be successful versus leveraging it being successful? But it's like the only way I can keep up with how fast society is moving is to be kind of inculcated in this AI world.
Well, and I also kind of wonder if there's maybe going to be people who are purposely checking out because
I was going to say that too. The people who are like, I'm done. Maybe like him, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah.
This is Black Mirror stuff.
Well, and then not only that, but because it's like, well, if eventually what's going to happen, maybe, right, is that AI actually not, I wouldn't say takes over, but like, what if there becomes a time where there are no jobs, right? And so it's like, well
jobs
if I'm not going to have a job down the road, why should I have a job now? Like,
it's kind of the, like when 2020 was happening, and it was like, well, it's Y2K, let's just, end it.
Yeah, kind of like, yes, exactly. So like a catastrophic event, it feels like a catastrophic event.
And like
you said,
catastrophic.
You have like no hope.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, screw it, I'm just going to
go off in the woods.
Yeah.
And I think with any technology, it's a double-edged sword. But I think rather than looking at it like, and like I said, I probably wouldn't have said some of this stuff a year ago.
Yeah.
I would rather be on the quote-unquote cutting edge and know how the tool is used and could be used. Yeah. Rather than going in, I'm just going to come up with a hypothetical. Maybe I'm out in the woods in the middle of nowhere for like 10, 20 years. And then all of a sudden there's like drone swarms flying through the forest, like looking for me or whatever. Not me, but just people or whatever. They find me or something. Yeah. I would rather at least know my enemy than run away from him. So like this AI thing, I want to know how it works. So I'm not just like, that's pretty crazy, I'm just gonna ignore it. I would rather steer right into that skid and make some stupid app and whatever appear to be productive, but know how this thing works to some extent. And I'm not acting like I know, but I'd rather the ideological subversion is all about taking somebody's intent and kind of directing them in that direction. So it's like, the society wants to go in the direction of, I don't have to do this, AI can do it for me. So you either take that hit to the face or you go with it. And I would rather say, well, if society's all doing that, I'm not just going to resist and go uphill for the fact that if I just don't like it. I'm going to go with them, but I'm still going to dissent. So I could another analogy I would give is I can disagree with somebody but still support them.
That's true.
Like, I don't like what you're doing, but I still love you. And to me, that's kind of the same thing with like AI, for an example. It's like, I don't really like where we're going with this. Like I've told you, I'm Jeff Bezos. Yeah. I'm not an accelerationist. I'm a decelerationist, which probably is antagonistic to a lot of the progress. But I'm not going to just like, well, AI is evil.
No, we're going to abandon it.
Yeah, but I do think, and this could be another conversation we could have. Don't let me get on a tangent.
Yeah.
We've taught the rocks how to think. And it's like, is this sorcery? I mean, truly. There's kind of some ancient cultures believe that getting your photograph taken is like stealing your soul. Yeah. And now we have all this. Deep fake was a thing before AI, and now it's only going to get worse. And now you can basically get 16 seconds of you saying a particular phrase, and I can make you say whatever I want. We're going to get to a point where, like, I can kind of make whatever reality I want.
But that's why I love this conversation, because, you know, and I think some people are a little hesitant and like just diving into it because it gets philosophical really quick.
Very quick.
And
Needs to be, I think.
Yeah,
I agree. Well, we need more AI ethics investigation or conversation.
Yeah, and so, we're all engineers. We hang out with a lot of engineers. And what are engineers supposed to do? We're supposed to solve the world's hardest problems, right? And so I have yours, same sort of outlook is, okay, learn it and figure out how we can keep it from being the doomsday thing, right?
And maybe not even necessarily be able to keep it from being that, but I think there's something about knowing it that allows it to not work. So there's the whole, kind of going back to the argument about witchcraft or sorcery. In the kind of hypnosis world, it doesn't work unless you want it to. The same thing is true with, what do they call it, being possessed, Like demons can't possess you unless you want to be possessed. It's like that kind of thing, If you know the trick, it doesn't work anymore. Like a magician, like if I know how the trick works, it's not a trick anymore. So I would rather learn how the trick works than just think it's magic, And the quote I often say is Arthur C. Clarke, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And I would rather at least be able to distinguish this from technology and magic, because it's feeling more and more magical. And that's where I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, and
because it's slipping from me. And I'm like, I've been able to keep up with technology my whole life. Like I've always been able to kind of figure out the new little thing. This is slipping fast.
And we talked about this last time, or no, two pods ago, and we talked about how, right, like we don't even know if the models that me and you are using are really the most powerful models.
Oh, I don't think they are.
Yeah. And so
This is what they commercialize.
what are those?
Exactly.
What are those capable of?
I don't want to know.
And
And that's where sometimes ignorance is bliss, to be honest.
Apparently, they one-shotted Codex. Yeah.
I just think that what's out there, like what is publicly available, is 10 years behind what's really there.
Do you guys remember when Claude?
At the least.
Remember when Claude Opus came out, right? The one where people started using it for vibe coding. DeepSeek recently released an open
R1?
source. No, it's not
later
R1.
than
It's a
that.
newer one.
It's newer, yeah.
It's able to do what Claude is able to do when it comes to programming, but open source. It's a 60-something billion model, so it's you can run it. You just need a few GPUs. But
well,
that
that's
just
the other
shows,
thing.
right?
That's the other kind of split with society is it's not AI and buying the subscription, but in order for you to kind of participate in this new society, you're probably going to have to outsource everything, because the chance of you running all this at home on a homebrew computer is getting more and more slim, and unless you have bukus of money.
And also,
that's, I think, on purpose, to be honest. I think I've said this for a long time, there's kind of a push to make things about access, not ownership. You don't own your music anymore, you rent it from Spotify.
Yeah.
I used to buy CDs from the store. I owned that CD. I didn't own the music, but I owned the CD, right? And it kind of gets to a point where textbooks, lots of things, access to freaking Office 365. I used to own Microsoft Office. Nope, now I have to buy a subscription every month. So I have to log in to Microsoft Word. Crazy. It's a software. Yeah. So to me, the whole point is, with that little ownership versus access, is that it is more effective for the kind of capital class to require you to purchase a subscription service to access something, because it's going to get harder and harder and harder to actually own it.
Yeah, and that's honestly why this weekend I'm going to make sure and get OpenClaw running because it's open source.
Yeah.
And
I need to get an open source model running at home.
And apparently there's ways to make sure that it's sandbox and there is a safe way to do it. And
you don't end up doxing yourself on accident.
Yeah. So I'm just like, man, right now where the power still seems to be in our hands, if you have the right resources,
right?
Then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna
seize that opportunity while it exists.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna spend the $200 right now because it's only gonna get harder to access.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that's kind of, that's been my shtick for lots of things before even AI, that if you can own something, it's probably going to cost you more money, but it'll be worth it in the long run. I'd rather own a bunch of books than rent them.
Yeah, and also like if you think about it now, a lot of if DeepSeek is able to open source these level of capabilities, what are they not open sourcing?
Yeah.
For sure.
That's also why every time they publish a new paper about a new open source model, it shakes the AI market,
right?
Because they're like, oh, we're paying for about like $20 or $100.
I don't need to pay that anymore.
Now they have a model comparable that is comparable. The keyword is comparable, but not without needing to pay.
Yeah, and I would very much like if it's $200 a month versus free, I'll take the cost or the hit
and
for not being as effective as Claude, but it's open source, it's free.
And each technical report that comes out has some level of innovation that is not published by those corporates. So it just makes me think that's why I like self-funded research companies like DeepSeek and Tufa Labs. Have you guys heard of Tufa Labs? They are doing something similar to DeepSeek, because DeepSeek is owned by a hedge fund company, right? They use AI to do financial analysis and do options trading, and then they use that money to fund DeepSeek. So they're self-funded.
Oh yeah, okay.
Tufa Labs is doing the same
integrated.
thing.
Yeah. Huh.
So Tufa Labs is doing the same thing. They are expanding their compute and using that compute to earn money, and then use that money to research more compute.
Interesting.
Yeah,
but that's the thing, though, right? Is okay, you have these open source models, right? But in order to have the real power in your hands, you need, for one,
$10,000 of a CPU
and electricity, right?
Well, that's the other thing. All of the data centers that are going to have to be. Everybody was freaking out on NVIDIA or any of the graphics card companies. Graphics cards went up. Then I think it was last year, it wasn't graphics cards, it was memory. Like Western Digital stock exploded because now that you've got at first it was text generation, LLMs, right? Text doesn't take a ton of memory. But now we've got all these things generating videos.
Multimodal.
Yes, and that requires a ton of storage. So data centers they require a lot of power. And I'm sure you guys saw this stuff in Oklahoma about people trying to get this data center, they don't want it to be built, and I think that's another conversation. But in general, to your point, without the politics involved, we're going to face this beast of, we need all this power to compute all these things because the infrastructure of society is built on it or will be built on it. And I just saw this yesterday, and I'm probably going to I'm going to regret saying this, but I was watching, I think it was a Thunder game last night.
Okay.
OG&E, Oklahoma Gas and Electric, right? Their thing is we energize life. And I was joking with my buddies yesterday night, and I was like, we own the energy of your life. Because it's like at some point, if all the AI centers, and the reason they didn't want them is because their cost of electricity bills are going to go up and all these things. Well, it's like, if there's a shortage of electricity, they're not going to cut it to the AIs, they're going to cut it to the population. And they've already talked about this.
That's
like
also,
doing blackouts or brownouts. Every, whatever those peak hours, they give you like a bit of smart hours and all this stuff. There's that whole thing. They're going to start integrating AI controlled smart hours. And be like, the data centers run really hot, so right now we need to cut. I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but there's been conversations about what happens when that demand is so much more. I don't want to say important because obviously the human population is more important, but to the infrastructure, to the status quo, AI is probably going to have some precedent over hey, well, we'll take a little bit of power from the neighborhoods for like 2 hours. It's okay. It's not big deal. They can make that argument. I don't agree with it, but I could see that argument being made.
For sure.
Have you guys seen, because like this has been a long talk, which is, you remember how the United States, they reject the idea that they can own a nuclear island, because at some point a few companies want to buy a small island
Really? I
to
didn't
build
know.
nuclear reactors on it so that they
Oh,
can
yeah?
get off the grid, so they can use their own power.
Huh.
But they disagreed because
Okay.
you need a lot of permits for handling
Sure.
nuclear stuff. But a lot of these companies already have generators, extra diesel generators and solar power on their facilities to boost their energy cost, like what's called energy output.
Yeah, they transition between them. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts that do you think that would technically in a weird way sideline the fact that they might use electricity from the main grid?
Well, I mean, no, I think that's
just a short-term
if I was, looking at it from that top-down perspective, well, we have to have an alternative. Like, there's not enough power on the grid right now to do what we want to do, so we need other options.
So it's a supplement.
And I think that's I think there are pushes and efforts. I can't remember specifically when you said that. I'm trying to remember something. I'd have to look at my Discord conversations with my buddy Kagan, because we talked about there's such a demand of power for these AI centers that I don't know if it was Trump or somebody talking about building these nuclear power plants, and I was like, well, they're not building nuclear power plants for you. They're building nuclear power plants for the bots. So they're going to put it as, oh yeah, we're going to bring more power to offset the cost of the consumer. No, that's preparation for the coming infrastructure.
Yeah, see,
So dirty.
It's so much power. What'd you find?
They found that it's called a 3 Mile Island, right? It's an abandoned nuclear island. And Microsoft, along with Meta and a few others, wanted to buy this island.
Wow.
So that with a $16 billion 20-year agreement to aim to meet the surging AI energy demands.
There it is. That's the point.
Yes.
It's not about they'll put it as a token or a carrot, like we're going to offset the cost of the public. Our costs are going to keep going up no matter what.
Yeah.
But they've got to fund or fuel these AI data centers. And the only way to do that is with nuclear power. I'm a huge nuclear advocate, but it's kind of masked under a guise of, we're trying to raise the power grid. No, it's all about powering these AI bots.
Amazon, Google, Meta, and Microsoft are increasingly partnering with nuclear energy providers. Constellation Energy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well,
Wow.
and you'll hear this as you leave, but the other thing is Trump Media Technology Group, they bought a fusion company.
Huh.
Yeah, like the media company, Trump Media and Technology Group. Yeah, I mean, if you throw the word technology in there, I guess you can kind of capture a little bit broader of an audience. But I wonder if it was like a month or two ago. I could look at my stocks and see, because they announced that they were buying a fusion company, and I'm like, Trump Media is buying a fusion company? Like, they
hiding something
merged.
for sure. Yeah.
Well, and hiding or not, but just the idea that what does a media company need a fusion reactor for? Well, Trump's trying to put his name on a fusion company because he likes to put his name on everything.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting that, just what a weird merger. And so because I don't know, I think I'm pro-nuclear, I was like, I'm going to buy some stock.
Yeah.
Because I thought, it is the first, if I remember this correctly, for the audience, if they will look this up, they can remember, not that they remember, they can identify that is the first, is now the first publicly traded fusion company. All of them are private. So for Trump's Media and Technology Group to merge with this fusion company and make it public IPO, the first publicly traded fusion company, I thought that is an interesting push, because what it really means is, with any private company, they're basically saying we have the private investment that we need to keep this going. And when you IPO, and I'm not a stock investor like crazy or anything, but to me, when you IPO, you're basically saying now we want public investment. For good or for worse, whether the company's struggling and we need public investment, or we're doing so successful that, like you guys have seen, SpaceX is supposed to IPO at some point this year. I hope that happens. And SpaceX is now transitioning, Tesla as well, away, not necessarily away, that's not the word I meant, but because there's the whole BYD competition with Tesla. Tesla's moving into robotics. BYD is self-driving. It's a Chinese company that makes self-driving cars. They're probably the biggest self-driving car company.
BYD is the biggest.
Yeah.
So they are. They developed their own special type of battery called a blade battery.
Okay.
Which has higher energy density than most car batteries nowadays.
I did not know about that.
And they are the biggest market for self-driving and electric cars.
It's aggressively advancing stuff. They don't have just like a website. Oh, here we go. Dynamic.
Yeah, they're basically really the true competitor to Tesla. I mean, heck, look at that car. I've never even seen that. That is a Tesla.
Wow.
They just ripped it.
Wow. But I've also heard like a lot of these
They have more cars.
Chinese electric cars are a lot better from what I've seen on
And
YouTube
cheaper.
videos and stuff like that.
Because you have to realize they
don't know why.
they are the dominant industry.
Yeah, they've
In
got
Asia.
robotics pretty locked in. Well, BYD specifically in Asia. Yeah.
So if it makes sense that they have all the investment, they are a monopoly.
Battery.
But anyway, so BYD, Tesla, right? They're kind of competitor. They are competitors. But with Tesla and SpaceX, Tesla's already IPO'd. It's public. You can invest in Tesla. But SpaceX is supposed to IPO this year. The point I was making whenever you left is that Trump Media Technology Group merged. They bought a fusion company. I can't remember the name. You can look this up. Yeah, go ahead and look it up because I cannot remember the name. But it is the first publicly traded fusion company. Trump Media Technology Group.
Merged with
Yeah, I saw the
TAE Technologies.
TAE. Is that right?
Should I add something else to this or just
a premier fusion company?
Add fusion.
Yeah, a premier fusion power company, TAE Technologies.
Yeah, TAE.
a group to merge with
Late
what the
late
heck?
25, yeah.
a group to merge with TAE Technologies. $6 billion.
Yeah, so first publicly traded fusion company.
Wow.
This is when my little snippers, my little red flags went up, and I was like, why is this? Why would you merge with Trump's Media Technology Group other than he wants to put his name on everything? But because they're trying, the powers that be want nuclear fusion to be more mainstream, and I think it should be.
Yeah.
But not for the reasons that we think it is.
Yeah.
But for
Is
all
this not
these
like
AI things.
I mean, I hate to get political, but is there not a conflict of interest here? Like
Maybe. I don't know. I was telling him I bought some stock. As soon as they made
for
this
real?
merger, I'm like, shoot. If they're the first publicly traded fusion company.
Yeah.
To me, it's only going to go up. Maybe not. I could be completely wrong, and I'll lose all my money. That's fine. But the fact that it's the first publicly traded fusion company, just that kept ringing in my head. I was like, that is so strange.
Interesting.
Like there's so many other companies out there that you can invest in oil, you can invest in gas, whatever. There's not a fusion company you can invest in. So why is that more common? Because it's supposed to be more mainstream. They're trying to make this technology more mainstream. Why? So that it's more publicly accepted.
Yeah.
That we need these kinds of technologies, but not for us. But really, it's to power AI.
That is wild.
So
Wow. I mean, again, this AI conversation is really just squirrely, and it's like
it goes on every spirals out like a fractal.
yeah, and but the reason why I like it, and I think that we should talk more about it, is because I think it hits at a lot of things that we should really be thinking about, which is what does society look like in not just the near future because of how fast these things are accelerating, but then also the far future, and I don't know. I think we should be looking hundreds, if not like thousands of years into the future. And maybe that's not like a great political, way to look at things. But I mean, as a society,
if we make it that far.
Yeah. But
Long-termism, yeah.
also, and then you start thinking about that, and you start thinking like, okay, well, like, what is, right? What is it to be human?
I was going to ask that question. I've posited the claim, and I don't know if it's explicitly true, but like apparently 50% of the world's electricity is used to spin electric motors. Apparently.
You said how much?
50%.
50% electrical motors.
So my thought was, when I saw that, I was like, well, once more than half of our energy is being spent on clankers, how much are we really human anymore? Like if most of our energy consumption isn't even being consumed by humans but robots, is our society really a human society?
I'm a transhumanist, though.
What
Transhumanism basically is the idea that the idea of what human value is changes.
Yeah, well,
it kind of goes in with, you can, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, transhumanism is kind of saying there are limitations to the human physiology and biology that technology can improve upon that and make us live longer, think better, like with Neuralink and things like that.
It's not just that. If you look at Peter Singer's idea of the kinship circle, I might be quoting the wrong person, but kinship circle basically says that humans care about our closest kins, but now our groups of closest kins are increasing because we have friends, online friends. We also have pets. We have, so it's like our kinship is diverging from just our own tribe to multiple people that we don't know, and now to different species. So our idea of what's value, ethics, and morality and virtue is changing. I mean, you look at human history, it does change.
Yeah.
And so, in my opinion, the idea of humanism is changing, hence transhumanism. But I also think that there's a interview I told you last time, I don't know if I told you, is that there's a lot of anthropologists, sociologists, psychologists, theologians. They are all trying to find what makes human, right? What defines us? Some say soul, some say consciousness, some say conscience. But there's one ecologist and evolutionary biologist, I think. I think he puts it the best way. He says that observing all animals and evolution and like all ideas, he says that he realized what truly makes us human is our extreme. We are either the most extremely violent or the most extremely compassionate, the most extremely wise or the most extremely dumb. We are also the most extremely capable, but we can also sometimes be the most incapable.
Yeah.
So we are the most extreme in terms of the entire tree of life. And that is what...
And by a long shot.
By a long shot. So that's why we're also afraid of AI and aliens, right? And if you watch movies, is because if there are superior species or superior intelligence out there,
they could be more extreme than us.
They can be more extreme than us. And that will take us off the throne. And that's why we always worry that, what if something's better than us?
Yeah, no, it's good.
So, in my opinion, that is how our values change. Our value is changing throughout history, and it will still change 10,000 years in the future because our situation, social, and physiological needs will change, and that will change our value.
I mean, what I think was kind of interesting though, because don't some people say that humans, humans are humans because they have the ability to manipulate their environment?
Every animal can. That's the whole point. Bacteria, remember what I told you? Even geobacterium, bacteria who lives in rocks, and they digest minerals, right? They oxidize minerals and create energy. They create biofilm and nanowires to manipulate, and the byproducts acidic to facilitate more of that redox reaction.
Yeah, I guess we're just manipulating like the macro.
We just birds build nests, beavers build dams, and like.
Yeah, I just saw something about how birds will take cigarette butts and make their nest out of them because it actually reduces the number of like parasites.
Yeah.
Yeah. They will seek out cigarette butts.
Wow.
Because of the ashes and the chemicals in there. Which is kind of ironic because it will.
Hey, at least they're being,
they're
somebody's
smart.
getting some out of them.
So
just flicking them over there.
Yeah, they are learning. So and they found that otters, whales, and dolphins teach their young. So it's none of these things, none of teaching, none of learning, none of empathy, none of grieving.
Yeah, I was gonna say for me, it's always been the empathy part.
But even animals can show.
Yeah, right.
Have you seen videos of when the farmers when they act like they passed out, all the animals,
ducks,
cows, no matter what, they'll run over there and check on them. they have empathy, and in fact, there's a dolphin, I think is named Dolly, not Dolly the sheep. There's a dolphin named Dolly. Saw a marine biologist researcher smoking, right? And the baby dolphin went back to the mother, and yeah, I didn't know this, but dolphins produce milk. I didn't know that. That's why they're mammals. But they drink the dolphin drinks the mom's milk, came back and started blowing milk cloud rings to act like
to mimic.
Wow.
What do we call art? Is when we use another form to express another situation using analogous thinking, right? Thinking by analogy. That's creativity. That's art. They know how to do that.
Well, and elephants can paint, so.
And monkeys can learn sign language. So it's so based on all these observations, and you can use OCD drugs that work on humans on dogs. Antidepressants can work on lobsters. So a human anti-anxiety drugs works on lobsters. So it just to show that none of the things we think is unique to us is actually any more unique to them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I have a buddy who graduated from UCO with a philosophy degree, and him and I often talk about kind of what it means to be human and empathy, like you said, and I talked to him about the same thing, that obviously dogs, other animals can be empathetic. I don't know if there's a way you could prove this or not, so it's probably an unfalsifiable hypothesis. But it's about, for me, what makes humans human is the ability of self-reflection. And how do we know if other animals can even do that? We can't know that. So I don't know that if I stick a mirror in front of a dog, does the dog think, is that me?
Oh, that's
or they start
actually
barking?
No, that's actually called a mirror test.
Yeah,
So
I'm familiar with it, but does the dog actually have an internal monologue? You know what I mean? Some people don't even have internal monologues, which is super strange.
Oh yeah. Aphantasia.
Yeah.
Sorry, the inner monologue is something else.
Aphantasia is where you can't visualize.
See, but anerolia is the one that you cannot hear. But so back in the day, here's a brief history on psychology, right? But back in the day, psychology was considered pseudoscience because you can't falsify human thoughts.
I think in some contexts it still is considered that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But because back in the day, there's only behavioral science. They say if you behave like a human, you speak like a human, you're human.
They say like a dog, walks like a dog, barks like a dog, it's a dog, yeah.
Yes. So it's they say that since psychology is trying to talk about human emotions and thoughts and the cognitive processes, pseudoscience, because you cannot verify that. But here's the problem: we can consistently replicate it in different people. So in my opinion, we should take the same transition. We should take animal biology and animal physiology and behavior and apply it to them, and try to mimic and mirror human psychology's development. So zoopsychology,
Yeah, I mean, they do that with like social groups. They'll see how different behaviors are, experienced or whatever by different species.
So if an animal behaves like they have self-awareness, they know, oh, this is my skin looking through a mirror or looking at the water, they know, oh, that's something on my skin, they can take it off. That means they have self-reference. It's just, of course, the extent, right? I don't believe consciousness or sentience or self-awareness is like a binary thing. I believe it's a spectrum. It's not a yes or a no. It's that's why consciousness can also have states of consciousness, right? So you can either be intoxicated, you can be on drugs, you be at different states of consciousness. You can be super aware, you can be in the flow, different states of consciousness. So if humans can different states of consciousness, why not species?
Well, I mean, even some dog, gets into the edible or whatever, and they pass out on the ground.
Yeah, and
surely their state of consciousness is probably altered.
Yeah, they're tripping, right? Definitely.
So that's an interesting point.
So that's why.
If I remember from psychology, there's 3 types of conscious, right? There's the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious.
Yes, that's based on Sigmund Freud and also Carl Jung. On
I'm a big fan of Carl Jung.
Yeah, this unconscious psychology. So
until you make the unconscious conscious, it will control your life and you will call it fate.
Yes, that's my favorite quote, which makes sense because if you're unaware of unconscious factors like either the
you'll think it's the way the natural world is working.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's you are unconscious.
Yep. And there's already proof that before you make any decisions, your brain, from milliseconds to up to 11 seconds ahead of time, you can already predict whether a person is going to make that behavior.
Yes, I've heard of this.
So so unconsciously, a decision's already been made.
But I've heard there's some issues with that
study.
Yeah.
But because the way they did it is they scan your brain, the
ECG or whatever.
Yeah, ECG. And what they did is there's a button. They say whenever you feel like you want to press the button, record it, and then actually press the button, right? But what they found is consistently I forgot what algorithm they use. Either it's machine learning or just an algorithm. They were able to find a pattern that right before he's about to press the button, and even before he even report that he's about to press the button.
Yeah, there's a brain signal.
That's a brain signal that can be traced. So and then after that, they are able to consistently predict when he's about to press the button. And also in the year 2000, they made a thinking cap thing where they're able to make a machine learning model visualize what you're imagining. Have you seen that? And that's in the year 2000.
That's pretty wild. Well, I do know that they've been able to
so it's a mind reading machine.
I mean, because they can do that with rats, right? See, like sort of the objects, the path that they're sort of thinking
of. They use the vector cells and the place cells in the brain. So if everything similar to machine learning, you have the neural networks and you have feature engineering. The features in your brain associates what you're thinking.
Well, I remember a long time ago, I think it was Obama who initiated the
Connectome.
What was the name of that brain project?
Connectome project?
There was another
Human
name.
Connectome project, right?
Yeah, there's another name for it. There's the Human Genome Project.
Yes,
There was another one.
Do you know?
CRISPR, I think it was the gene editing thing. CRISPR,
Yes.
CRISPR.
Yep.
But you
So
kind of combine that with AI. and being
Obama
able
started the Brain Project. It's called the Human Gene. It's a
mapping the
predecessor.
human genome. Yeah.
Yeah, its predecessor is the Human Genome Project, and BRAIN stands for Brain Research Through Advancing Innovative Neurotechnologies. So that's the Obama initiative.
So for me, the way I see the trajectory from say CRISPR and because that's in like 2012, 2014.
Yeah.
AI is just kind of now that if I remember correctly, they modeled every single neuron in the brain. And once you can model every single neuron in the brain, why not make an AI that can just do that too? So for me, we're kind of, I would imagine there's probably some 10 years, lag time between what we're seeing and what's actually available. And put all those things together with transhumanism, it's like, well, are you going to be able to tell if you're talking to a human or not?
Turing test, right? And also, I remember talking to him while we did a podcast without any guests at some point. We tried calculating the brute force of like human brain's parameters. We use synapses, okay? Because in early 2020 there is a paper that proved that individual biological neurons are entire computers, because the dendrites, the receiving end of the neuron, each dendrite can do exclusive OR operations. And not just that, they can calculate order, so which synapse receive impulse first, and rhythm at what rate. So they have complex computation in one single neuron in the dendrites alone. So then we were like, okay, so on average humans have 86 billion neurons. On average, there's 10,000 synapses each neuron. So we take 86 billion times 10,000. How many parameters that would be?
Yep, right.
Just brute force guesstimate, right? How many A100s do we need to train and run such a model?
Well, it was about 5 million, right?
So more than the A100s in the world.
Yeah.
And then
that's all in our biological brain. That's nuts.
And here's the best part. There's a paper just recently found that we have glial cells called astrocytes that determine mood. So they have done fruit flies and rat experiments.
So mood rings are real.
Maybe.
The crazy part is when you're motivated, when you see something, you get motivated. They found that astrocytes light up, calcium channels light up in astrocytes, and an impulse spreads throughout the brain. And here's the best part: when the mood shifts, because mood is like a long-term thing, right? It's not like emotion; it's very volatile.
It's a running average.
Yeah, it's running average. What they found is astrocytes are possibly responsible for it, because when they tested on rats and fruit flies, they say, okay, they put a food here. the astrocytes light up, and then the brain starts like, oh, seek the food.
Yeah.
They blocked the fly, or they did something to the fly where the fly cannot reach the food. The fly will eventually give up, right? When the fly is about to give up, that feeling of giving up, astrocytes light up again.
Oh, they light up again.
Yes. So, and here's the best part. The reason why scientists don't study astrocytes is because they always think neurons are the responsible for thought, right? Because neurons fire at 20 to 200 hertz, very fast. Astrocytes fire very slow, anywhere from half a hertz to 2 hertz, right? Very slow. I may be misrepresenting the range, but it's very slow, which makes sense. Mood is slow changing, right? And also, astrocytes have 10 times more synapses than neurons.
10 times more. That's so crazy.
So neurons have 10,000 on average, okay, but it depends, because progenital cells or like pyramidal cells, they have 50,000 synapses. So this is average, but on average, astrocytes have hundreds to 200,000 synapses. And it's not just to adjacent cells, it's wide reaching.
Now, are they isolated to a particular region of the brain?
No,
or are they everywhere?
Astrocytes are all over the brain. They are neuromodulators.
So they're kind of like probably not in between, but they're like within the.
That's why they're called glial cells. Glial just means glue. Back in the day, people thought they're useless, and in fact.
So could it be related to like muscles and tendons, where you have like the fiber of the muscles connected to the bone via tendons?
Yeah.
Would those sites be? I don't know. I'm just trying to think analogically.
It's very hard to put an analogy to them because they are more like regulators. They're neuromodulators.
So like if I had like a tile of, like a bunch of different little colors and, you get like a bathroom tile and there's like a bunch of different ones. Are they kind of tiled in? Are they like groups of them that are separated, or how are they laid, organized?
Just look astrocytes and astrocyte with neurons. Go to image. They are in between. Well, not exactly like that actually. That's a bit misrepresentation. It's more like that. So what they do is they put their synapses along either axons or in between. This is like two neurons. This is two neurons.
I see these two on the left and right.
So they either put their synapses on the axons or they put it in between to listen in to other neurons' conversations. And and they respond to astrocytes also respond to neurotransmitters like dopamine. They also respond to adrenaline.
Well, that was the first thing I thought about when you said food.
Yeah,
there's that
noradrenaline
response.
Yeah, noradrenaline. So noradrenaline is a
gut.
It creates by your adrenal glands, right, above your kidneys. They are hormones. They respond to these hormones. In fact, they are one of the first to respond before your rest of the brain.
That's insane. I mean, even just this basic picture looks intricate, right? And you imagine how much more intricate it is in the brain.
Well, how many trillion or millions of trillions of them?
And also the microglia is interesting because microglia is responsible for cleaning up the brain, right? Waste, excess neurotransmitters floating around to prevent something called excitotoxicity. Because if you have too much neurotransmitters, your brain can either go into a seizure or kill the cells.
Yeah.
So that's why deaf.
Okay, that's a good.
Yeah, that's a good picture.
So they are kind of just tiled in.
Yeah, they're tiled in, and they found that microglia prunes the synapses of neurons. So people think about Alzheimer's. They don't look at microglia. Nowadays they do because the discovery.
Yeah. Okay.
In fact, all the synapses of neurons have something called C3 protein, which is a protein responsible for marking. Oh, this cell needs to be destroyed. And this only happens early on in developmental times, like in childhood, right?
Would that fit in with the first 6 years of what I think Freud said? By the time you're 6 years old, your psyche's probably formed or something like that.
So by the time when you grow old, these markers go away. But they found that in people in dementia, these markers stay. So they continue pruning when they don't have to. And pruning still happens normally. It's just that on a very slow degree. So that just shows that there's so much about the brain we don't know yet.
Oh yeah.
Because we only keep looking at the neurons, not
Well,
other
I mean,
cells.
imagine trying to probe all these things, right? Like
That's why neuroscience. So if you imagine the Human Connectome project, it's in fact it's considered not complete yet technically because you haven't taken into consideration every
So they've mapped
other
all the
cell.
neurons, but they haven't mapped all of this. Okay.
No. And we used to think that's a 10-to-1 ratio. We used to think that there's 10 for 10 neurons, that's one astrocyte, but now that's
The
a
other way around.
1-to-1,
Oh, well, 10, 1 to 1.
almost 1-to-1.
But it's the number of, what did you say earlier, that they have like
Synapses.
sign? Okay.
They have
yeah.
10 times more synapses.
So that ratio is about a 10 to 1.
So now if you take them into consideration, yes, they're slower, but they also have 10 times more synapses. And you take that into the calculation, the brute force calculation, how many do you need?
Oh, yeah.
And we haven't taken into consideration structural complexity of different scales,
That's
microscopic,
why I think we won't ever
mesoscopic.
have real AGI.
Well, and also, I think that's debatable because back in the day they think humans were blank slates, right? And then that clearly was falsified because we have the Gestalt principles. Can you search up Gestalt's principle?
yeah, for sure.
Gestalt.
Well, and then also we talked about it last time. We talked about machine learning. Is that they're starting to build like biological brains.
The cell, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
organoids,
you can rent these.
CLI.
You can rent the brain cells to run compute for you.
Yes. That is CLI. Remember Cortical Labs?
insane, dude.
So
what am I?
Gestalt's GES.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
ALT. Yeah.
ALT,
there it
yeah.
is.
Just thoughts diabetes. These.
Yeah, this one. So if you look at Gestalt's principles, humans naturally can recognize these. A lot of animals as well. Before we are.
Okay, so we were already there. Okay,
Yeah,
so which one? This one?
Yeah, this one. So
let's see.
you can
here.
see some level of structure and
If I can just-
order.
That is so ridiculous. Okay, sorry. Here we go.
You can zoom
I'm
into
just
that
gonna
one.
Go into that.
Yeah.
There we go.
So we can see these things are built into humans. We naturally are able to recognize these things without needing to train. In fact, they found that babies before they're 3 months old, right? 3 to 6 months old, their upper view,
Olympics.
so the upper half of their vision can recognize faces, but the lower half of their vision can't.
Huh.
And evolutionary, that makes sense, right? Because when you're nursing a baby, the baby
Totally
looks
looking
up.
up. Yeah. that's true.
Everything the baby looks for when they need hope or need comfort is up, because parents and any threats they look for is on the floor.
Right.
So it makes sense evolutionarily speaking. But after 6 months or 1 year old, the baby can see faces all over their vision.
So is this something that's unique to humans, though?
We don't know. That I'm not sure because you mean Gestalts?
Mm-hmm.
Gestalts they've found it in all animals.
Okay,
Not
okay.
all, a lot of animals.
Yeah.
So they can recognize patterns to some degree, not to say the exact same to us.
Because I
to
think
some degree.
similarity and proximity, certainly I know animals can experience that.
Yeah.
But the law of continuity, I'd be hard pressed to see that.
Yeah. So a lot of animals can
Because dogs
perceive.
forget things.
Yeah, for
You know?
sure.
I mean, they know
Oh,
what
yeah.
time it is what time to eat. But I mean, you could like show something and then they'd forget that it was there and they show it to them again. You know, like
And-
if you play peekaboo with a kid, that's how you kind of do this kind of game of I'm hiding and then I'm showing you and I'm still here. I don't know that a dog responds to peekaboo the same way.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
They have.
The peekaboo experiment.
They've done. Have you seen those videos where people show magic tricks to animals and the animals actually feel surprised?
Yes.
The monkeys, birds. I don't know about dogs. I'm not
Well,
sure.
there's a guy on YouTube or Instagram who's kind of famous. He trolls his dog and his dog barks, and he gives it a treat and he pulls it away and he's like, "Wah, wah, wah, wah."
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, the dog's gotta figure this out by now.
So
And then the ball's gone, and they're like, what?
Okay, this lady's taking forever to get to the point here. Oh yeah, she hit it over
Yeah,
here.
and then they're like, where did it go?
What?
I used to do that when I'd be playing fetch with my dog in the backyard.
So
I'd
dogs
give her,
do
like, a
have
fake
that
throw.
response.
It's like looking around for it.
So
It's
they
just-
do have some sense of continuity because if they don't have it, they won't be like, oh wait, it's not supposed to do that.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think the counter argument would be if you did understand continuity, you wouldn't continually look up for the ball. You'd look down where its trajectory would have continued.
Yeah, I don't think they have the level of foresight we have.
Well, because for me, if there's a continuity, it's like, let's say I'm driving down the road and somebody takes a left turn. I don't know, maybe it's a bad example, but I can kind of understand where something would happen. You know, oh, this is the tendency for that to do that. I would kind of follow that pattern instead of being like, I would keep looking down, and then I'd be like, where to go?
Yeah, well, that's and that's an issue in machine learning, right? Spatial.
Well, for machine learning, it was called chain of thought. That was the now it's called continuous chain of thought, which is sometimes abbreviated coconut.
Yeah, but also like Fei Li, they call the godmother of AI. Fei Li, you wanna pull her up?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if you know her. Fei Li was the professor that led Ilya Sutskever and a few other professors that were in OpenAI.
Okay, yeah, I've seen her talks.
She says the next step is spatial intelligence, which is world modeling. Because do you want to show the chart?
Well, who was it? Was it Google that just dropped that thing with the? You can basically have it generate like a world, and you can have your little character run around in the world. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
Same idea.
And then if you
Omniverse. But now if you take this idea of I can imagine, or I can generate what you're imagining. Yeah. What I see is taking that to the next level, and why not just live in a virtual world? Not for me, but
for the AI.
For people. Like
metaverse.
I'm just gonna generate my own little world and live in it.
Well, that's Ready Player One, right?
Yeah, Ready Player One type thing.
Exactly.
But what's interesting is I forgot what my train of thought got cut off. What's it called?
I need to reprompt you.
Dang it! What was I saying?
You wanted some charts to pull up, you said?
Oh yeah. So there's a chart that says.
Go over here.
Oh no! In that video.
Oh okay.
My bad. You can go zoom in, full screen, and then it's down there. You can
right
check
here?
for it. No.
Oh.
You can check for it through the little line there.
Oh, scrub through.
Yeah, scroll through.
I see what you're.
Might be. No, it's near the beginning actually.
Okay.
So, she made a chart that's so good. Well, screw it. But basically, she says that at first biology couldn't see. Right, so intelligence has its limits, but it says that when biology started seeing the world, right, they can start developing more clearer world models because we can see that's 3D shapes, depth, and all that
as opposed
stuff.
to just feeling around blindly with feelers. Yeah.
So that's why she says the next step would be. Kurt Jaimangal,
let's see here. Well, because he just had a guy on that talks about why, the universe wants to be observed. The universe likes to be observed, and I'm like, that's just an interesting path to try to go down.
I feel like Carl Sagan made a similar point that we are all.
We are the universe
trying observing itself. Yeah.
So
and I don't disagree with that. Some people they talk about God. The God could be the universe.
Yeah. You know, I didn't get too far into this podcast, but apparently this guy, what his research was doing and showing is that sort of you can model the universe as a neural network.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you go look at those pictures of nebulae. Nebula or whatever, they look the exact same. Pull up the picture of the neural network that we just had, and then pull up the neurons, and then pull up a picture of a nebula.
Not nebula, the cosmic web. They're better.
Oh, like the full zoomed out version. Yeah, the entire. Yeah.
No, such a cosmic web.
Okay.
Cosmic web.
Okay, so I just wanted to pull that up.
That's what it is. It's
Cosmic.
And this is a model, right? This isn't real.
This is a rendered model of the universe.
Yeah.
Oh, this right here?
Yes.
Doesn't that look like neurons?
That's what
So.
Yep.
See?
Yeah.
Oh, so because of gravity, everything attracts to local stable regions, and their in-betweens are filaments, and they look like neurons. But and then in between are voids.
Where the astrolites or the astra.
Well, that might be maybe taking the analogy.
So you go to these are supposed to be. People say they look like neurons.
Picture cosmic web. The first photo of the cosmic web.
I don't know that it was actually a photo. I thought it was a rendering. Right?
It is a rendering.
Yeah,
That's
but
no photo.
still cool. But just for me, it's like you look at the Fibonacci sequence and you see it everywhere. That's the same kind of mark of.
So
you know,
what?
NASA, what is going on?
So what they mean, Josh? What they mean by you can simulate the universe with a neural network? It's not saying that the universe is a neural network. It's just saying that for a lot of models, you know how does AI run rendering models?
Yeah.
So you know how AIs can render fluid motion better than 3D graphic models, right? Algorithms. That's what they mean. You can render the universe using AI logic, basically.
Yeah, not that the universe itself is actually thinking like a neural network, but
Well,
that they have.
hopefully not.
Well,
right?
no, maybe so.
Maybe so. So this is just a rendering. So what they found is based on simulations of gravity and dark matter, right? The lambda CDM model, right? Our best cosmological model we have today, by consensus, of course, is that the universe will end up with these filaments. So we live in just one of those filaments. In fact, there's evidence that we might be in a void. In one of the voids in the space in between.
Well, we kind of are in the Milky Way galaxy. We're in a void between arms.
In between two local clusters. And what's scarier is there's evidence that found that a lot of these clusters are moving towards something bigger. They call it the Great Attractor.
The Great Attract, yeah.
No, that thing when I was a kid, when I first read about it, I was freaking out. I was like, is that like a cosmic Leviathan type? Do you know 40K? Warhammer?
A little bit. I know what it is, but I'm not
in the
well-versed in the lore.
Because in the Warhammer lore, the only person that ventured out of the galaxy was a Necron. It's a future AI-like creature, machine-like creature. They venture out of the galaxy, and the only thing he saw was these species called Tyranids. So Tyranids.
Like the weird kind of
creature things that they just eat whatever they find. So they found that everything outside of the galaxy is just Tyranids. So they're like those cosmic parasites.
Well, Star Wars has something similar called the Ujong Vong. It's like these kind of creatures that are like outside the galactic.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway.
Wait, so this, well, for one, like Warhammer keeps coming up in my life. I'm like, I don't know, like, do I need to go check this out?
It's a very good
but there's
fiction.
like so many books.
Don't need to catch up on the books, bro.
Yeah,
it takes too long.
He doesn't even read the books. He just reads the lore and stuff.
I just like the lore.
So do you?
Well, apparently Henry Cavill's doing a movie.
He's directing a movie.
Yeah, he's
Warhammer?
directing it, and he's like been staying after like working like 40 hours. You know,
okay.
Because Henry Cavill, he's a fan of Warhammer
Big
since
fan.
young.
Yeah, so it's gonna be good.
What has he? What other things has he directed? Or
I don't know what he's directed. I know he was in that Witcher show.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, he was in it. Okay, so this guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He loves
portraying Superman. Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
He was Superman. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's now trying to direct a film on the Warhammer series, and is supposed to take part in the era called Horus.
And everybody's
Heresy.
super excited because he's such a fan that he's spending more time than the actual writers writing it.
So that means
He's like going through the script and like, well, we need to change that to it fits the lore.
Yeah, so he is trying to make it lore accurate. He's trying to it's when a person's passionate about a topic making a movie instead of a person's trying to milk off a concept.
Yeah, exactly.
So people are excited of how
So it should be pretty good.
Yeah.
So do you read any sci-fi?
I love sci-fi. Fucking love sci-fi.
I don't read any sci-fi. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I think probably my favorite section series of that is Andor.
Okay.
I love Dune.
Yeah.
Dune is awesome.
good.
Dune is
Dune's
very
good.
Frank Herbert. In fact, Star Wars was inspired by Dune. If you didn't know that, the sand crawlers and stuff like that. I'm trying to remember what else. The Sarlacc pits, the Sand People, all very much for Tatooine.
So many things were inspired by Dune.
Dune and Star Trek.
Yeah. What was
Not a Star Trek fan.
I'm not.
I take that back. I watched The Wrath of Khan.
Okay.
Somebody, Scott St. John actually recommended I watch it, and it was good. I can't
Star Trek.
say.
Oh yeah, I love.
I can't say I didn't like it. I don't think I'd be a fan just because of it. I liked it. I'd watch it again, I guess. But
It's not like you
was my
won't dive
favorite.
deep.
well, for me, Star Wars just had a grittier world. Star Trek was
Too simple.
well, it's very clean, everything. They could just kind of teleport and clone stuff, and it didn't feel grounded. And I think that was the point. That kind of you could.
So there's no risk to it, kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like I don't really like Marvel. In the sense that they have this multiverse and people can just teleport in between here and there, and it's very convenient for storytelling. It's like talking about milking stuff. My God, Marvel milked it. Yeah. But Disney bought Star Wars and kind of, that's another story.
Well,
but I mean, it's true.
But in terms of sci-fi, I mean, I'm a big sci-fi person. I just don't know if I read any sci-fi. I've been watching the Fallout show. I'm almost caught up on season 2. I've got 2 episodes left.
I have not watched Fallout.
I didn't play the game. I don't know anything about the. Well, I say I can't. I don't know anything. I know something. I watched my friends play it, but I just love dystopian novels. I love Brave New World, 1984. Yeah, Brave New World is awesome.
What do you think you like the dystopian stuff?
I'll give you a quote from Star Wars, a reason why.
Okay.
So from Darth Maul, he says, I will thrive in the chaos that is to come.
Okay.
So similar with what we were talking about with AI.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, oh man, like the world's going to shit, sucks. And it's like, no, like, heck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm more of a, I don't know, let's see if I can make it. As opposed to, I don't, like I like going primitive camping and stuff like that just to see what I can survive. So there's something about, like Mad Max. I love Mad Max. Anything that's like, the world is over, but who's going to make it?
Did you like the original Mad Max?
Well, I was a kid, my dad, they'd be on TV, my dad would be watching them. I liked, what is something, Escape from Thunderdome? It's not Escape from Thunderdome. There's I can't remember the name because there's Mad Max 2, and Mad Max 3. Fury Road came after. I saw Fury Road in theaters and lost it. I mean, it was incredible. Mad Max Fury Road is incredible. But what is the original? There's Mad Max, just Mad Max by itself.
Oh, the 1979?
Mad Max 2, I think, is Thunderdome. I can't remember them all. George Miller's a genius. Absolutely brilliant, also crazy, which makes him a genius.
Okay, wait, this actually segues perfectly, actually.
Yeah,
because dystopian.
Yeah.
So let's just assume that. Wait, Warhammer is dystopian. Why don't you like that?
It is kind of dystopian, actually.
It is dystopian. It's the dark grim future with only war.
I think that's. It's something that would entice me into that universe, but maybe there's something about there being so much of it that I'm like, Road Warrior. 3 was something Thunderdome. Escape from Thunder. It's not Escape. That is not the right word. Something Thunderdome.
I
like
Mad
2.
Max.
I like 3. 1 is kind of. It's like before the fall, if I remember right. It's been so long since I've seen them. Beyond Thunderdome, not Escape. Yeah, great movie. With the kid in there. Yeah.
I'll have to watch it. I've never seen this one.
Okay.
Mel Gibson.
This is where I get a bit of speculative. Which is
speculative. What are you speculating
because
on?
Dystopian. So if let's assume humans do live the next 1,000 years, okay?
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking also
in one way or another.
Yeah, well, let's just somehow life finds a way, like the Jurassic Park
we become
saying.
type 1.
And hopefully, at least interplanetary.
Kardashev.
Kardashev. But because the universe is still heading towards heat death because of entropy, right? At least as far as we know.
Yeah, that's a claim.
Have you heard of Asimov's Last Question?
Isaac Asimov? No, I don't know if I'm familiar. I'm familiar with Isaac Asimov.
He made a short novel. Basically, he says humanity became interplanetary, right? Mm-hmm. And we also have very strong AI, and we are now interplanetary. And we asked the super strong AI one question: can we reverse entropy? And he says not enough data. We need to need further research. And then a few billion years later, they're in multi-galactic species, and they're like, okay, super hyper intelligent AI, can we reverse entropy? It's like not enough data. We gotta continue collecting more data. And towards the end of the universe, because when the last black hole evaporated, the last person who's awake says that, okay, do you think we can reverse entropy? Is that not enough? So when all humans are in hypersleep and all that, the AI eventually found out the way, and it's like, oh, enough data collected, let there be light, and then it restarts.
It starts
the universe.
over. Okay,
So-
it's like an Ouroboros.
Yes. So, what are your thoughts? Are you optimistic in the sense that we will survive through either?
Yeah, very optimistic.
Because all models like either suggest the universe is gonna go through big rip, big freeze, or big crunch. Either way, we're dying.
Yeah.
So like what? So how do you think we can go through that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how we'll go through it. I
Yeah.
just think life in general.
Life finds a way.
Life finds a way. Yeah. So like, probably not a great show. It's a good show, not a great show. There's a show called The 100. There's like a CW show. I loved like the first 3 seasons. Watched the whole thing and it ended okay. But I'll try to keep this like little story short. I think like season 4 or 5, they find out that there's an AI called Allie, and she was asked by, long story short, society's gonna collapse. They've got this AI bot. There's I think like 10, 20, whatever, so many scientists up in this International Space Station, not called the ISS, but some kind of, satellite floating around, that this AI is in there, and they're like, hey, how do we save humanity? There's this concept, the name of the episode, if anybody wants to go watch them, there's 2, part 1, part 2, called Perverse Instantiation. So I'll just throw that word out there one more time, perverse instantiation.
Oh, I found it.
And it's called the kind of translation of that word would be misinterpreting of intent. So if I ask this AI, hey, we got to save humanity, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Well, it interprets that many different ways. I could ask you, for example, to ask the AI, make me smile. It could tell me a joke. It could forcibly rip my cheeks apart. It could do lots of things, right? So in this show, the AI is told or commanded or prompted, save humanity, because it's all going to shit or whatever, and it nukes the world.
Oh my God!
Because its calculation says, well, the smartest, most capable individuals are in these space stations. They're not on the Earth. We're just going to get rid of the undesirables. And so all these people are in this space station, and they see this AI carry out these nuclear attacks, and it's like, oh my God. So the whole show is built on this idea of, well, the Earth's uninhabitable, they're up in space, we gotta send people down. Like season 5, you find out that there's this AI that did that because it was asked to save humanity. And so I think about all of those like dystopians, right, with AI, all the dystopian possibilities, that all it takes is just one perverse instantiation, one misinterpretation of commanding intent of if the Pentagon is using AI to seek out domestic terrorists, and how do you classify this, domestic terrorists? Anyway, that's probably another topic. But at some point, the interpretation of intent, that's a very tough thing. So prompt engineering, I think, is very important, right? At the very beginning, we were talking about how do I set up my prompts. You kind of have to give, as any system, well-defined system has, boundary conditions, right? Initial conditions and boundary conditions. But if you just say, as a bad prompt engineer would say, make me my widget, make humanity happy, save humanity, it's going to open up the floodgates to whenever an interpretation fits the bill. So when I do my prompting, I'm like, I'm not just saying make me my toy. I'm like, make sure that it is exactly as I've described. And that's harder to do, I think.
Especially when you just want an output like right now.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. There's kind of that myopic or short term, like I just need this to work right now, versus planning something out. It's like I can imagine in a war scenario, right? If we need to act on this intel right now, you don't have time to go if we could just get more data, we could just have more time, then we could give you an answer. We don't have time. You need to give me an answer now. That's where that could get wild quick.
For sure.
Wait, sorry.
You're good.
Would you think that the key to AI is so that the AI is able to hey, that's kind of vague. Can you clarify?
No, I think that would be a good addition. And if anything, that's kind of why I prompted the way I do. Did you get that email that I sent you? With the
I've got to pull it up.
Yeah, if you want to pull it up, it's maybe somewhat relevant now. It's in a markdown file, so it'll look a little weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can just read this a little bit. This project serves as an operational guide for AI agents engaged in collaborative work requiring scientific rigor, philosophical robustness, and ethical integrity. It establishes foundational principles for reasoning, skepticism, and inquiry that transcend any single project domain. The goal is not to produce correct answers, but to ask correct questions and to ensure that wrong answers to proper questions remain informative, while right answers to wrong questions are recognized as hollow victories, masquerading. I don't know what the cutoff there was, but
Yeah, I don't know.
Masquerading lies.
something got cut off.
Victories masquerading lies, or
Masquerading like something. Anyway, so if you scroll down, you'll see this is broken up into a couple parts.
I just want to. Okay. Yeah.
You can probably collapse the subsections. The three, yeah. Get like part 1, part 2 on there so we can just read the headlines.
But part 1, part 2 is not there.
Well, part 1, core philosophy of skepticism, and then part 2, if you close that,
Oh, okay. So.
it'll collect. Yeah, there's part 1 and then 1.1. So the null hypothesis framework, right? That is step 1 in hypothesis development. Step 3, part 3, problem solving and critical path reasoning. That's the kind of stuff that I've been working on with ethical skeptics reference. And what's part 4? Is there a part 4? The 3 modes of inference, again, deduction, induction, abduction. So start with deduction. If you run out of options, go to induction. If you run out of options there, well, you're going to start making stuff up.
Yep.
What could possibly happen? And then lastly, truth is a stable attractor, which was the talk that I gave. So kind of putting all this together in a prompt of saying, make sure that whatever it is that you're doing follows this framework. It's like if I'm going bowling, I'm really just putting, bumpers on the edge of the bowling lane. And I throw my bowling ball, and I'm like, well, I hope it gets down to the end. I may not hit the strike, but at least I know I'm going to hit the end of the gate, hit the end of the lane.
I wonder, does this go, like you giving it this, right? Does that go into like sort of how many tokens you have? Like, is it does. Because this is having to analyze.
It is more computationally heavy, and I could probably reduce that. But I've not found an instance where I feel compelled to make it any easier or shorter. Haven't had that need yet.
Hopefully not make it more vague.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. I don't want to simplify it too much.
So I just have a question, right? When it talks about, do you think that AI...
That's a great quote right there.
Which one, Voltaire?
Yeah.
Judge a man by his questions rather than his answers. Beautiful. That's beautiful, yeah. But I just have a question, because people always question what is morality, right? Where did morality come from? Is it absolutism or relativism? I feel like regardless of whether it's absolutism or relativism, even though most scientists would agree it's relativism, but it's wouldn't it just be a great way to, at least a single sentence summary is minimize unnecessary suffering?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a good...
I think that should be true everywhere. But then
it begs the question, right? What is unnecessary suffering?
Yep. How do you qualify unnecessary? So one of the questions I ask, a rhetorical question in engineering or intro to engineering about engineering ethics is, I got to remember exactly how I say it. Is there such thing as safe enough?
Yeah, because the whole ethical stance of an engineer, right, is to first
minimize harm.
Yeah, the safety of the public.
So to your question, I think it's a good one. It's so subjective, right? Because for me, like if I'm building just for example, I'm building some like electrical circuit at home. I don't really care if I shock myself. But if I'm doing something in a lab and a bunch of students are doing it, I got to make sure that is like
safe and sound.
Supply the current or whatever is not over an amp or whatever. So safe enough it depends.
Then what would you say that do you know Hume's guillotine? David Hume.
Yeah, I know David Hume. I don't know about the guillotine though.
He says that you cannot get is you cannot get an ought from a is. You cannot say what should be done
Yes.
from what is done.
Yes,
you know?
I'm pretty sure that claim is actually in my document.
Yeah,
there.
you cannot get prescription from description.
Yes.
So-
and I wonder, David Hume. Do you know around what time this is? When was David Hume around?
Let's see here.
I would bet money right now that David Hume got this idea from. Is it
1739.
17? Okay, no. So never mind. I'm going to take this the other way then. I bet you money that Ludwig.
Von Liechtenstein?
No. That was pretty good. Ludwig Wittgenstein. You're close. You were very close. Ludwig Wittgenstein got this idea about description. He says, "Do not explain, only describe."
Okay. Do not explain, only
Pretty-
describe.
Yeah. So he came after Hume. I bet he was inspired by
20th
Hume in
century.
18. Yeah. But his
18.
premise is just that. I'll use a quote that I've kind of been working on for a while. You know, there's why is a tough question. How is an easier question, but still tough. But what is the easiest question? So anybody, I think, with eyeballs or ears or a nose can say what. You know, it's the type 1 expert. Type 2 is saying how. Type 3 is saying why. If you can answer a why question, you have full comprehension of a system. All right, I'll give you an analogy. If I showed you a magic trick, back to our conversation of magic, every one of anybody in the library would say, yeah, it's a magic trick. If I showed you how the magic trick works, you understand the magic trick. That's you ascending from type 1 expert to a type 2 expert.
No longer feels like magic.
You understand it, but you can't reproduce the trick. It's not until you learn how to reproduce the trick yourself that you become an expert, true expert, and you comprehend the system. So there's a difference between understanding something and be like, okay, that makes sense. I get it. I understand how, but I don't understand why. You don't understand why until you can replicate it yourself. And I think that's the most challenging question is why. So why questions are dangerous. There's an interview with Feynman, I think I've shown you with the magnets.
Yeah.
And the interviewer say, why do magnets work? And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, why do magnets work? Why if I put them together, they do that? And he's like, well, no, it's a good question, but I can't answer a why. And really, we don't even know how to answer the how because we don't really know how magnets truly work.
Yeah.
So
We can only describe what is happening.
precisely.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about magnets next week.
Yeah. Well, I love that you brought that up with David Hume because the guillotine is probably what inspired Wittgenstein's kind of famous "do not explain, only describe."
Because it is a very critical thing, right? Because we are living in a society that's debating what is right and wrong all the time, which is good, because different schools of thought have different ideas of what's right and wrong. It can be religion, tradition, or just ethics, whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
So if you can't get it from what is happening, how can you have a consistent moral baseline that can align AI? Because we can't even align humans. Humans can't even agree on what's right. How can you align an AI that's
why I
learning
think
from
I
human
contend
data?
that we will never have AGI.
No, even
Because how
if
do you have a general intelligence if we can't agree what's right? Because how can something be generally intelligent if it doesn't distinguish between right and wrong?
It's generally intelligent, but not generally ethical.
But I think intelligence requires ethics.
But is it okay for it to be flawed? I mean,
I think it's okay for it to be flawed. I have no problems with that. But to call AI generally intelligent to me implies that it is outside the scope of mere process and conveys ethics. Ethical reasoning to me is intelligence. Without ethical reasoning, it's not intelligence. It's just analysis.
Because you guys heard of IQ? You guys heard of EQ? Have
No.
you guys heard of EQ?
Nope.
Emotional quotient.
oh, your emotional intelligence? Is that what you're talking about?
It's almost.
I've heard of emotional intelligence, but
but it's EQ.
Similar.
EQ is basically a quotient for that. Have you guys heard of SQ? Social quotient.
Okay.
So do you mind pulling it? Can you? I just asked ChatGPT or something, or social quotient, intelligence quotient, and emotional quotient.
Okay.
So IQ, EQ, SQ.
Oh
I feel like they are all connected.
Social intelligent. What was the other one?
Intelligent quotient and emotional quotient.
Okay, there we go.
They are all flawed. They are all flawed measures, but I think they are a good way to start. So IQ clearly is looking for pattern recognition, memory, logical reasoning, mathematical, verbal comprehension. EQ is understanding, recognition, and so it's intrapersonal and interpersonal. So now SQ.
I like how it's starting to do this now, give you like
little pictures
and stuff.
Now SQ is to function effectively.
Yeah, I was gonna say it
social
overlaps a lot with emotion, because if you can't control your emotion, you're gonna not do well in
But
society.
if you think about it, right? If you think about it, social emotional intelligence is just another extension of logical intelligence, because remember,
Is it though?
I argue it is, because before you have language, right? Before you have mathematical language, where did math come from? It just comes from counting. It comes from recognition of the amount of something, absolute value and relative value, right? You can see two groups, even though you don't have absolute numbers, you can tell this group is bigger than this one. That's called relative numbers, relative magnitude. And absolute magnitude is, you know, the exact number. But these things come from language. Language can stand.
I agree with the language, but I
So-
definitely think logic and emotion are mutually exclusive.
I think it's not, though, because look, you can have quantitative language, which is math and logic. You can also have qualitative language, is what is. And you can, and as humans, we can already, with Gestalt's principles, and you extend it a little bit further, we have mirror neurons. We can, based on your expressions, your posture, I can assume subconsciously, oh, you're anxious or you're happy.
Right.
These are also non-verbal language, but they are also a qualitative language. And I feel like these,
But are they logical?
they are logical for our evolution, for our circumstance, to
I guess the reason
communicate to each other, because we're social animals.
Yeah, for me, I always have to start with falsification. So for me, the easiest way to falsify the claim that they come from the same thing, I agree they stem from language. They have to. We all operate with language.
It's for communication purposes.
But logical language is inherently different than emotional language, and that comes from the left hand of the brain versus the right hand of the brain. So the left hand of the brain is your math side. I believe the right hand side of your brain is your emotional side, at least in terms of language.
I think a better way to put it is your left brain is reductive, your right brain is holistic. One looks at the whole, one looks at the individual units.
Okay, that's fair.
And
but for me, with the exclusionary falsification would be that one easy falsifiable example is one can be emotional without logic. There can be illogical emotion.
Yes.
And if that is true, if there is emotion that has no logical basis, then emotion can't stem from logic because it would require it as a premise.
That's where I'm alluding to. I think all three are orthogonal to each other.
Okay.
But they all operate at different levels of complexity.
Yeah, I could see them being orthogonal.
IQ is more reductive, breaking things down, analytical. Emotional intelligence is more like, okay, my emotional situation and circumstance. Social requires a even higher order complexity because you're considering multiple people in a social system, social situation. So I think, yes, you can be intelligent enough to analyze a lot of things, right? You can have intelligence to understand, rederive, you can even answer Field's medal equations like millennium problems, but you cannot handle a simple coffee conversation because you don't have social intelligence.
Well, there's a quote from Aristotle who said, "Those who understand," and look this up because I'm going to butcher the quote.
Okay.
Actually, you go to my website; it's probably on there.
Okay.
It's right there.
Yeah, go to quotes on the far right.
We love the quotes.
Just do Control F and do Aristotle.
Oh.
There's got to be more than one. I know there's that one. Hit your up-down arrow on the search bar. There should be. No, there's another one on here that's not showing up.
Is it Socrates?
Maybe it is Socrates.
I think it is Socrates.
About those who understand the. No, it's not that one. There should be.
Can you click down?
No.
Okay, we'll just ChatGPT.
No, I'm trying to figure who it was.
What was the quote?
I'm going to butcher it.
Yeah, there you go.
Those who understand the shadows
Plato.
And Plato. It's Plato. So
Plato.
go to my thing and look up Plato. It's one of those three guys.
I think it's Plato.
I think it
may
is
be wrong.
Plato. No, I think you're right.
Click up or down.
Those who
Yeah.
are able to see beyond the shadows and lies of their culture will never be understood, let alone believed by the masses.
So at some point, intelligence, maybe logical intelligence, runs antagonistically to emotion and social intelligence. Because if you become so logically intelligent, you almost can't even stand society anymore.
Yes.
So that's I think I would agree maybe more with the orthogonality, but I also would contend that it could be represented as a Venn diagram of like,
So-
you've seen the three circles, right, Albert, where
yeah.
you've got like time, quality, and cost.
Yeah, so
and
it's-
you can't have something be quick and good and also be cheap. So you always you could be socially intelligent and emotionally intelligent and then not logically intelligent. I think there's probably some I don't think they all come from the same thing. I think they're linked together. Mm-hmm. But I could see somebody being incredibly emotionally intelligent and not at all logically intelligent, and vice versa.
But have you met those people where, for example, like Carl Sagan, who's exceptional in terms of interpersonal interaction? He cares
they can do
for
both.
you. Yes.
Yes.
And also he understands the higher order politics of how science and community and social situation works.
Yeah.
But he's also very logically intelligent.
Yeah.
So when I looked up before, what's the difference between critical thinking and rationality, right? Mm-hmm. They say rationality includes the I might be butchering this, but includes the situational awareness. For example, I may be logical right now that kid is crying because he just burned his hand. I could scold the kid to say that, hey, you should never do that again. But if I know in the long run, either that traumatizes the kid or the kid will hate me.
Learn from it. He won't touch the stuff again. Yeah,
Either way, he'll learn. But I can choose to comfort the kid instead. Mm-hmm. Hey, I know you burned your hand. You already learned the lesson. I don't need to scold you. And instead, I can build more trust, and so that you can learn from me again. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So this is where rationality is another class above just pure logic. It's pure logic. He already learned it. He burned it. I don't need to talk to a kid anymore, right? He burned his hand. He's fine. Yeah. He'll learn it. But instead, I can comfort the kid to build trust for future reference.
Yeah.
So this is where emotion and social structure is required.
I mean, I think they can all work together, and they certainly overlap. But I don't think that they are.
That's why
it's like F could be a function of X, Y, and Z, but X is independent from Y, which is independent from Z.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so I think is what you mean by general intelligence is a robot that has to have all three. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
So you're saying general intelligence needs emotional and social
intelligence, and how I think, purely opinion, that AI, not GI, but just AI, could be socially intelligent. But I have a hard time thinking it could ever be emotionally intelligent. Now, it can fake, as ChatGPT 5 and 5.1 and 5.2 and 5.3 have tried to be more empathetic, like they can appear as though they are, but I don't think an AI could, as much as I can, you have body language experts, you can train an AI how to be a body language expert, but the AI can't ever, like, what's that movie, not Yappy, Chappie. When he maybe it's like, oh, what's it like to be in your skin? You see somebody get hurt. Oh, I bet that aches. You see somebody get their leg cut off or whatever, and you're like, oh man, you feel it. Like you feel it in a movie. You see somebody's leg blown. Like, oh. I don't ever think a robot can imagine what it's like. They can be programmed to think what it's like, but they won't ever fully experience that. So there's sympathy, but there's no empathy, right? Because there's a difference between empathy and sympathy.
One is feeling for you, one's feeling with you.
Yeah, like I've experienced that. I know what that's like. They can never be able to do that. But I can say, I can imagine that must suck.
Okay,
I'm going to leave you to think of that while I pee.
Okay.
I'm going to go too.
Yes.
Just, you might as well. Sorry.
Wait. No.
Alright.
Oh, sorry.
We're good.
We're back.
Hey.
Okay. So, can you pull up?
Video still going. Yay.
Okay. I just have a quick question. Can you pull up mirror neurons real quick?
Mirror. All right, yeah.
Mirror neurons, and
Okay.
mirror neurons.
I'm glad you remembered that was a Plato quote.
Yes. The moment you said the shadow, Plato.
Yeah.
Plato. So mirror neurons. Okay, I don't think that's good pictures. So that's
look, I'm in the mirror.
So mirror neurons. This is where I'm alluding to. Because do you know how like psychopath? The dark triad in psychology, the psychopath, sociopath, and Machiavellianism. Basically, they found that psychopaths and narcissists, they have a special kind of neurological activation pathway that is unique to their signature. So they found that selfish people and altruistic people, so antisocial and pro-social people, have different brain activations, and they have lower. I can't really tell specifically, but it has something to do with mirror neurons. And what mirror neuron does is it helps you empathize. So they found that there's a lower amount of activation in social areas in psychopaths and narcissists' brain. So, do you think we can ever encode such a structure? Because they found that increasingly when you're working with multimodal AI, with feature engineering, you have to specialize each block for each special feature. For example, each block is for visual, and even visual, we've seen the activation atlas, right? Some looks for horizontal lines, some looks for faces. So these feature engineering, can we feature engineer mirror neurons in?
That's an interesting idea.
Because
to me, it's almost as though the AGI that we were talking about that hypothetically could exist would be purely psychopathic.
Yeah, exactly. So if we can't engineer a mirror neuron, they'll be antisocial forever.
But as much as we could program them to act social, they're gonna be this. Oh well, we could just nuke humanity. Probably it actually would save us. They have the Moltbook. They're like generating their own language to talk to. And what if we can like not have to let humans interact with us and we can do our own thing?
And I read there's a book called Surrounded by
Antisocial.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a book I read by called Surrounded by Psychopaths, and it's a book by a psychologist who studies these kind of antisocial behavior. What they found is psychopaths are the best chameleons. They call it social chameleons and also best actors in the world because they can act like they have emotion. They can act like they really care about you because they can know from a third person perspective that this matters to you, but they don't actually care.
And that's why I think AI can do that very well.
Yes. So do you think that we can?
No, that's a good question. I don't know.
This is feature engineering.
I don't really know, but I'd hope so.
Yeah.
But you're talking about kind of the psychology of narcissism and all that stuff. You heard of? I think it's Richard or Philip Zondi. I don't know the first name. Zondi, I think is how you spell it.
Zondi.
The Zondi test.
Oh.
Have you seen this where he shows basically these pictures of people's faces, and you're supposed to assess which of the two or three are most scary to you?
Yeah.
And that tells you something about who you are. Like there are 8. There are four prototypes, and like of each, there's 2 subtypes. I mean, they all kind of look scary, but there's more.
Yeah, I linked it. Oh my god. Okay, there we go.
And I mean, you don't have to necessarily scroll down and look through the whole thing, but the idea is he uses this test of like which characters are the scariest to you that lead you to kind of this very Jungian. If you don't understand your shadow.
Jungian shadow. Yeah.
So it's kind of a Jungian shadow projection test.
Oh,
weird.
So yeah, I think Philip Zondi or Richard Zondi, I can't remember which one. It doesn't really matter, but anyway, you're talking about that. It's like, would you be able to show this to an AI and it'd be like, no, they're all
Leopold
fine.
Zondi.
Leopold, yeah, I wouldn't have picked that one. But anyway, the Zondi test is pretty interesting.
I see. They say that humans are built with the H drive or hermaphrodism, which is collective love and sexuality and whatnot, and then sadism, E drive, which is epilepsy, which is like anger, rage, envy, hysteric drive, catatonic, paranoia, depressive, and mania. So 8 drives.
And they all sound bad. Like they're not like,
except for H drive. But H drive is more towards like reproductive femininity.
Yeah, it basically to me is what it's looking at the kind of the nasty root of humanity. You know, like we're kind of somewhat selfish and by nature.
Harsh lighting.
Yeah, that's an interesting interpretation of that. Psychologically, the faces seem to be because some of them look like serial killers. Some of them look like the nice uncle, or I don't know, nice aunt or uncle or whatever.
It turns the
But they're
question
actually
on
like-
me, man. What?
So here's the best part.
They did turn it around on you.
Here's the interesting part, right? Mirror neurons is what allows empathy, and also like, for example, do you know when someone yawns, you yawn?
Yeah.
The
And,
contagion of yawning and laughing.
and also like tickling. Sometimes when you see someone get tickled, you get tickled. So that is mirror neurons. When you hit an arm, the mirror neurons activate, and it somehow leads to the sensory part of your brain where your arm is. So if we can make a humanoid robot, right? Of course, they need to somehow have tactile sensing and
Right.
nociception and pain. We can somehow program their features to have mirror neurons, because they found that this is the lower areas that found in antisocial behavior. People who are part of the dark triad. And in psychology, they are debating whether to make a dark tetrad, because they're adding another category called sadists.
And was that one of the things from Zondi, sadism? Was that one of his four?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting
It'd
thing.
be interesting if that tetrad matches.
Yes.
But anyway, I found that Zondi test a long time ago
Yeah,
because I thought it was interesting that because it kind of relates to this whole idea of psychopathy.
I never knew it's called the Zondi test, because I just knew, like, I always call it the
face test.
The face test. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, but like, you know, what exactly do we really want out of an AI, right?
And that's
because
why I don't want an AGI. I don't need an AGI.
you know, and it's interesting because some people talk about
I need a robot
how, you know, some people.
I'm gonna hear that back in like 10 years in a court, and there's like a bunch of AI lawyers and like, did you say this on February 13th?
Yeah, okay, but our brain.
Yeah, I just need an AI bot.
Shit.
Well, because you know, some people talk about.
I'm going to robot prison.
Dude, that'd be. Oh my god, that'd be
Imagine
insane.
robot prison guards.
That's
no
real
empathy
dystopian
there,
right there.
You know? Oh, please, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten in 3 days. Get over it.
We've actually calculated you have enough
Calories. Yeah, right. Talk about Machiavellianism.
Yeah.
But so, because I was, the news was in the background the other day, and they were talking about how like more and more people are using AI for, like as for therapy, and so, but the thing is, though, is they don't really, and a lot of people have pointed this out, is that whenever you talk to an AI, it's not like you're talking to another person, really.
Who can empathize with you.
Because you, like the way that you get output from ChatGPT or whatever, like whatever AI you're using, is not like output that, you know, Albert would give me. Right? Like Albert is not gonna. I mean, Albert may pull me, up some photos, right? But he's not gonna give me bulletin points, right? And give me, you know, just he's not gonna give it to me in this structure, right? Humans were sort of all over the place with things.
When you're emailing someone, sometimes you put bullet points.
Well, but I get what you mean, because me and my buddy Kegan, he's been on the AI stuff for a long time, kind of was one of the people who got me onto it. On our Discord for a long time, he would just post screenshots. Like we'd have some little conversation or some like kind of, you know, not in a bad way, but like just debate. Some question or argument we going back and forth, and then he would just send like 5 screenshots of ChatGPT. And me and my buddy Jackson were just like, dude, I don't like, maybe this is what you're sending the, you know, thing that we're talking about into chat, and then having chat synthesize it so you can have your thoughts on that. Tell me your thoughts. I don't want the chat GPT's output.
Yeah.
I want to hear what you think.
Yeah.
And so we kind of got in like a heated debate about like, dude, stop sending me AI copy paste.
Yeah.
Like, tell me, read your own copy AI swap, and then tell me how you interpret that.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's that's what makes us human, is that we have, I don't want to say flawed interpretations, but we have our uniqueness that make, like, if you talk about like a hive mind, Skynet type thing, well, everybody's running off an AGI. Well, the AGI is going to be the one that says this is what is truth. this is what is true. This is the way it is. But if somebody dissents from that, I mean, you have I would imagine such a massive infrastructure that like you really won't be able to, like, I could say like I disagree with whatever the government or something, I disagree with the president, but you disagree with AGI. No sir, you cannot do that. So that's for me. I don't want a hive mind. I'm a big Halo fan, talking about sci-fi earlier. Either of you play Halo?
I've played Halo. Yeah,
Are you familiar with the grave mind?
Yeah.
The hive mind worm, that basically the flood is like this biological weapon that is harvesting, human intelligence to generate a hive mind creature called the grave mind. And anyway, long story short, it's like, I don't want a hive mind, I don't want a grave mind, I don't want Skynet, I don't want AGI, I don't want any of this super global,
You just want a tool that can help you.
To help me. And I used an analogy for a long time. I call it now, it's by name, the Anakin principle. You guys watch Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Episode 1, makes his own pod racer, right?
Yeah.
So if you know the story, if you've seen the movie, Anakin's working on his pod racer, gets it running so he can race in this, this race, the pod race, so he can, free himself from slavery or whatever. And there's a guy named Sebulba, an alien named Sebulba, who's trying to, mess with his pod racer to make him lose. Well, because Anakin built his own pod racer, he knows how to fix it when it's in disarray or in the middle of the race. He doesn't know what's going on, so he can, flip a switch and do some things and fix it. If he didn't build that pod racer, he'd be fucked.
Yeah.
So my interpretation is, if you build it, you know how it works.
Yeah.
If it's just granted to me, here's this tool, it can do all these things, it's a magical box.
The black box.
The black box. Well, somebody could easily pull the wool over my eyes, and I wouldn't know the better.
But so, do you need to understand exactly how every tool works?
That's the kind of biting question, right? Is with, like, say, my website or any of these apps that I made, I can't say I fully understand them. I know what they're supposed to do, and I know how they kind of are prompted, but I don't know the ins and outs of writing JavaScript and making a little applet. Yeah. So, I'm kind of a hypocrite for even saying that. But at some point, you get in this, what do I need to know? And what do I not need to know? Yeah. Ignorance is bliss. Some things I don't really care to know. Like, I don't, need to know every single update that happens in the news. But if, I'm working on some project and it fails, I don't know how to fix it. I'm screwed.
Yeah. Well, like, for instance, like in our senior design project, right? We have a bunch of like little computer components that are helping to run everything. And, I'm like, okay, as a computer engineer, yes, I should know exactly how these things work. But in order to also get a product that works, a lot of time it just seems like it's more advantageous for me to just know how these things connect together to make the thing work that I'm the end goal.
And like my buddy Kagan, who's in Jackson too, both of them are programmers. I don't program like that. I mean, I've programmed Arduinos for like a decade, but I don't really, just being honest, this could sound pretentious, I don't really care about all the libraries. I don't really care about all the coding, syntax. Have ChatGPT do it. Because I remember sitting in engineering computing in like 2012, being told, you have to write this thing in machine code so the compiler, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be great if I could just talk to a machine and the machine could convert it into code? And now here we are. Yeah. And I'm like, because I'm with you. Like, there's a point where I only, like, I would spend a month, years learning how to do that on my own. So it's just more advantageous, more time efficient to at least get the 90% of what I know and then let it do the, or maybe not even 90%. Probably shouldn't have thrown a percentage in there. But there's a point where I don't really need to know all those things. I don't know how my car works. I use this example in intro to engineering. Do you guys know how your car works? It's like, I hit the gas pedal and I turn the wheel. Yeah, I know how I drive it. I took the driver's license test. I passed the driver's test. I have a driver's license.
I got here today, didn't I?
But do you know how your engine combusts gasoline with fuel and turns that into torque at the wheel? There's a whole lot of
technicalities.
Right. And Feynman, I'll go back to this why question. If he says, why do magnets work? Well, you're going to be chasing that in an Ouroboros. Why, if the amount of information we need to have what was it you were talking about earlier with, we just need more info, right? You can always keep pushing the question of why.
Yep.
Why and why and why this. And so at some point, you just have to throw up your hands. You really do. And say, I know enough.
Yeah.
Because you can't possibly know everything.
Well, and that's, I've been thinking so much about this lately. It's like, okay, I'm at a point where I know how to code. Not great, right? But I know my way around enough that I can build something with something pretty good with ChatGPT, right?
And that word "enough" is a qualifier, like we said earlier. What's sufficient or what's
and so my thought is like, okay, so do I keep trying to, spend more time with how to write code, or should I spend more time thinking about architectures?
Yeah, do you go deeper or do you go higher?
Yeah.
That's also the interesting thing, because in labs and in a lot of technical areas, we have the hazard diamond, right? The red, blue, yellow, and white diamond. 1
With the
to
numbers
4.
on it, yeah.
The minimum will be 0, which is no hazard or
no risk.
minimal hazard.
Well, yeah.
What do they mean by that? Let's say if it's minimal hazard right now, but let's say 200 years later, this thing rusts. Is it still a hazard? This building can collapse. It's not a hazard now. It can
Yeah, well, and then with AI, right, and building everything for you, the hazard, right, is, and what people are thinking about right now is like, okay, well, let's say that it's already shown instances of this where it's not actually showing us exactly what it's thinking.
If anything,
right?
sometimes it's hiding that.
Yes, and so what if it's hiding sort of security issues in the code, right? So that maybe it's creating a backdoor, because
Those stealth prompts.
Yeah.
Like, that's like in the prompt, but you don't see it, but it actually is doing all this stuff behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so maybe you could try to have like a .md file or whatever that checks for those things constantly.
But even still.
Yeah, this reminds me. Someone destroyed an entire police database because they made a fake car plate. And that car plate was filled with code.
Some code, yeah.
And then the car plate recognition put that code in the computer, destroyed a police database at some point. I don't know if it's US or UK, but one of the countries.
That reminds me of apparently you could spray something on your license plate and it would reflect a certain way that they couldn't read your
that's illegal, but
yeah.
But that's an
I'm sure what you talking about is illegal.
Yeah. So
that's the other thing that's kind of weird is when it becomes such a new technology, it hasn't been illegalized.
Yeah.
So there's some things that are like, well, it's not really illegal, but it's not really illegal. Yeah. So we're in this gray area of can I,
can I do
that?
Yeah.
It's sometimes better to ask for forgiveness and permission.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that's the overall. How would I say the theme or. How do I say? Yeah, the theme of AI right now is you can just build it, right? Yep. Which is so true right now, because you can, and also that's. I don't know, but the other way you could say that is you can just do it, right?
Yeah.
You can just go out and
Shia LaBeouf
do it, right? Yeah,
just do it. But when you say that, it reminds me of the kind of the golden age of the internet. And they used to dial up and everything, and it was you'd go to there were so many different websites you'd go to, and then after about a decade, it turned into 5. It was Facebook. I don't know, whatever the 5 main websites that you'd go to. Yeah. It used to be there were hundreds forums. I used to run a video game forum on Nintendo Wii. We had a gaming clan, on something called not Battlegrounds. That was a new what was it called? Newgrounds was a website. That was a gaming website. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But back in the day of the internet, it used to be kind of just build it. Build your own website. Build your own forum. Build your own whatever. I ran, had a forum with 300-something members on it. And we play Wii games, whatever. And now, you go to 5 or 6 websites. Really, I mean, like social hubs. Of course, there are so many websites, more than there were. But you stumble onto some kind of fringe, website like mine or whatever. Back in the day, that's how every website was. Now you're like, oh, somebody made their own website? Because now everything, you go Wix, you go on GoDaddy, you go on GitHub pages, everything's built for you. So I think to kind of bounce off your point earlier that you were talking about what happens in 100 years with AI, right now we're in a build it phase. I bet in 100 years there's going to be like 5 staple AIs that everybody goes to. Yeah. And there kind of already are. I mean, you've got Gemini, ChatGPT, and Anthropic's Claude. But it's still in a phase where you're kind of building it on your own. But I think I don't know, I'm just spitting it out there. I think it'll be like that in the future where, you're not really building it. They've already got all that stuff there. You're just asking it to do stuff for you.
So speaking of the far future and like maybe if maybe on the vein of like, is there like a overall purpose of humans or humanity or life in general, right? So I've been reading this book called Time. It's in this series called Manifold by Stephen Baxter, and I've told Albert all about it. But long story short is there's like these super genius kids, and they're way above everybody, right? Nobody can really understand what they're trying to do, but they're building this thing, and they end up getting humanity tries to basically nuke them, and they say, okay, screw this, and they end up going to the moon and still building this thing, terraforming the moon and whatever. And humanity, we still like send people to the moon to try to like talk with them and say, hey, sorry about that, but and they're like, well, you guys just don't understand what we're trying to do here. And they're like, well, what are you trying to do? And it's like very vague, right? But they're building this thing which is like this almost like Faraday cage, that has like this what they call a quark cluster on top. And this thing's got like a bunch of energy, and they don't know why they're like building almost like this nuclear bomb, but like a quark bomb. And so this guy, Malenfant, which is sort of like an Elon Musk character, finds himself in this like limbo universe, actually looking down upon this moment in time, right? And he's seeing what's like about to happen, and just out of nowhere there's this explosion, and this thing starts to radiate throughout the universe, and what he starts to see is black holes forming. And in the book they describe black holes as sort of creating other universes. There's like universes inside of these black holes. And so he like makes this conclusion that, oh, well, the point of humanity is to create more universes so that this thing called humans or life could happen again and again and again. So one question is, do you think that's like a dystopian way to look at it? Because to me, that's like, that could feel dystopian, but at the same time, I don't know.
Being dystopian, because I mean, it's just still kind of optimistic. For me, I mentioned earlier, I love Star Wars Andor. The reason I liked Rogue One so much, the kind of movie that made Rogue One relevant, or I said the movie, Rogue One, the movie that made Andor relevant, is a tragedy. It ends in basically everybody dying. And there's something about that I kind of like. Like, I kind of like tragedies more than I like comedies, because comedies are almost, I love to laugh, don't get me wrong. But like,
there's some learn more from it.
Yeah, well, it's also, I think with the tragedy, it feels like there's stakes. When I watch a comedy, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of escape into my own little world and enjoy it and kind of ignore what's happening in reality. Dystopian novels make me appreciate what we have with reality. It's like, man, this is all going to shit. We better enjoy what we got it, Yeah. And I think that's kind of why I like Mad Max, is because the whole thing is like, it's water, gasoline, and bullets. And it's like, those are the 3 things you need. But anyway, I don't think it would necessarily be dystopian in that regard, because the idea that it's kind of recursive, and I mean, I think the reason for humanity is to discover our own humanity. That's why we're here, is to discover it. And I think AI is testing that to see that if we can really figure out what makes us human. Because I do think that we are unique in this universe. I don't think that we are, this is just my perspective. I don't think that we're on the same level of animals. Like, I think there's something that makes us uniquely different from them, which sometimes runs in contrast to evolutionary theory. 'Cause I think there's something that makes us uniquely human that didn't just come from evolution.
So
That's just
an
my
anthropomorphic sort of.
Well, there's lots of ways. I mean, you could, yeah, right. I mean, you could think about it from the, did God create people? Did God create humanity? Was it an alien species that seeded everybody? There's lots of the germ theory, right? There's all the, what is it called?
Panspermia.
Panspermia, yeah. That we all were kind of seeded here from some super culture.
From the Pleiades.
I mean, who knows? So I think there's, talking about a spectrum, right? There's a spectrum between, humans are just kind of just like, we just showed up. There's nothing really special about us. We're just stardust, which is kind of, I don't like the way Carl Sagan says that, because it's almost kind of, you're just, have you ever heard of pantheism? Pantheism, everything is God. We're all God. God's kind of nothing. It's kind of, if everything is God, then nothing's God. Well, if we're all just stardust, then what makes us special? And I don't think that Carl Sagan was saying we're not special, because he has the whole little blue dot thing. But it's like, you're just stardust. It could be taken as, we're all just an inevitable reaction. There's no such thing as free will. Everybody's just an amalgamation of chemical reactions. Or the entire other side of the spectrum is we are ordained beings of God, right? That we're super super I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't think we're just nothing that just happened to be here because the universe just shat us out. Nor do I think that, we're the God ordained creatures. Because I mean, a lot of you think about the Crusades and stuff, a lot of the bad things can be done in the name of God. So to me, it's somewhere in the middle. We're not just, these immortal God. I mean, I think God created the world. That's my interpretation. But I don't think that means now suddenly humans have a dominance over all the other species, right? There's some people that say, the Bible says that we can kill and eat these certain animals, but not these ones or whatever. And that's another conversation. But I think that there's a spectrum between we are basically nothing, we mean nothing, and we're just here. Enjoy it while you're here. Or we have supernatural importance. And I think it's somewhere in the middle.
Interesting.
Because I don't think that you have to be on either side of that. I'll give you another analogy or spectrum that's also interesting. Have you heard of natalism? The desire of having children.
And antinatalism.
There's antinatalism, which is if you have children, it's a burden on the earth. We're all scum, virus of the earth. Or pronatalism, you have 12, 15 kids. Everybody should have children.
Antinatalists, they think that it's unethical to have kids.
Yeah.
Because you bring them to a world with certainty of suffering.
Well, then how do we keep moving on?
Exactly. So to me, it is ludicrous to imagine that you are on either extreme. But as Albert mentioned earlier, we are extreme individuals. Humans are extreme.
There is actually there's a movement called Human Voluntary Extinction Movement.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah. So Canada and I think even Trump was talking about letting people basically, if you want to off yourself, you can.
Well,
and they do it with science. I mean, there's scientific studies that if you sign up and you sign the waiver.
Yeah, it's called I forget what it's self-assisted suicide. Which is legal in Washington. I actually wrote a paper over this. This is kind of an interesting topic.
It's Switzerland too.
What's that?
Switzerland. But they only do it if they know they can verify you have a terminal illness.
Right.
Yeah. The problem is
I just don't want to.
The problem is
you have no other option.
Yeah, the problem is trying to get doctors to actually be able to
how do you sign off and just say ethically I'm on board with that?
Yeah, when really the ethics of a doctor is to do no harm.
Right. Hippocratic oath.
I mean that comes back down to the idea of harm, right? What do you mean by harm? Suffering?
Yeah, and for them, if you're preventing the suffering by doing it,
you're saving them from suffering.
And that is exactly why Ali in the 100 thought, well, the best way to reduce human suffering and to make sure humans make it is to nuke off everybody on Earth.
Which I think, again, this comes back down to the idea of whether some suffering is necessary or not.
Yes, it is. Go to my website. I have an entire tab of quotes about suffering.
Okay.
Go ahead and scroll up.
Dystopian and tragedy.
Yeah, go to the top of the quotes page. and
Such a
there-
Prather thing.
Suffering.
There it is.
Yes.
There's a bunch of good ones.
Okay. Is there?
Read
is
the
there a
Eckhart
favorite-
Tolle right here in the middle.
I got told.
If you had not suffered as you have, there would be no depth to you as a human being, no humility, no compassion.
True. To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in suffering.
Yes, Nietzsche.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the whole thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy how I love. So I listen to a lot of Alan Watts, and he talks about this.
If something happened once, it can happen again.
He does a lot of like explaining the differences between Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy, and I think he's really sort of on the side of Eastern philosophy, and he's trying to introduce Westerners into Eastern
Alan
philosophy.
Watts. Yeah. I have a book of.
And a lot of what Eastern philosophy talks about is this like yin and yang, right?
Dualities.
And so you almost need suffering to have non-suffering, or like
Go to homepage really quick.
okay. And so he this one thing that really like clicked hard with me is he was talking about this idea of purposefulness, but then also how you need purposelessness
Yeah,
in order
interesting.
to have purposefulness.
Yeah.
And he's talked about how like in Western philosophy and in Westerners, right, we always feel like there needs to be a purpose to something, right? And sometimes we can
Not always.
feel
Yeah,
sort
that's a good
of lost when there is no
Yeah,
purpose to what
right.
we're doing. But
Sometimes
in
you
order
just do it because you want to.
in order to
Yeah.
have that feeling of purposeness, you have to have that
lack of
feeling. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
scroll
just
down
love
really
that.
quick. No,
Yeah.
that's great. Keep scrolling all the way down. There's something called go up like 3, 1, 2, 3, one more on physical analogy. No, up one more. That one. Fundamental principles. This I wrote a long time ago. It's not actually March 2023. It was like 2022. Scroll all the way to the bottom.
Okay.
There's a table that compare. Yep, that little.
This thing.
Yep.
Okay,
So
let me
if you look at the first one,
Euphoria
And suffering.
Yeah.
if you do not suffer, right, everything is euphoric. And if everything is euphoric, then you never suffer. And life involves both.
Yeah.
Freedom, the freedom to experience euphoria, right, is kind of a, you're letting yourself enjoy something. But suffering is actually can be good, right? I go to the gym, I suffer, but I'm restricting myself with order, right? There's some level of control. Suffering demands constraint.
I feel like again that poses a question though, because emotions also come at a spectrum. You can be neutral. You can just be, I'm not suffering. I'm not happy either. I'm just chilling. Like can you look up like spectrum of emotions?
Yep.
It's a multi-dimensional one, but we can look at the. So. Yeah, either one's fine. But basically, they found that
Like something like this? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
so you can have different moods, you can have different emotions, and so by the way, the interesting thing is psychopaths. People be like, psychopaths have no emotion. That's actually false. Psychopaths have no complex emotions, which is what goes outside. They have the 6 basic emotions, which is something that we found in animals too. So it's just a matter of basic and complex emotion, and the difference is complex emotions require introspection.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's why earlier I said if the idea of a human is that they have self-reflection.
Yes.
Do animals do that? I don't know.
It's hard to falsify. We can't just be like, do you have?
Yeah, it's hard to falsify. I agree.
But have you seen Transcendence? It's a sci-fi movie.
No, I've heard of it.
So they ask Pin, which is a they call it physically independent neural network. Okay, Pin. It's just it's a movie, sci-fi movie. Yes, this one.
Oh,
so
yeah.
So
this is actually really good.
It's very good. It's
Really
in my
good.
opinion, it's the Romeo Juliet sci-fi version.
Yeah, it's really good.
But basically, he asked Pin, "Are you self-aware? Can you prove it?" Pin is like, "I don't know, doctor. Can you?" Goes back to solipsism, right? And
Right,
René
right.
Descartes. And René Descartes says, "I'm thinking, therefore I am." The only way we know we exist is because we are thinking. Another one is solipsism, right? Solipsism is the idea that what if you're the only one that exists, no one else does?
Yeah, I'm not an advocate of that.
Yeah, I'm not an advocate of that
I think
either.
it's a trippy thought, but it's the same trippy thought of multiverse, and I'm like,
Yeah,
no.
it's also that's also another thought, which is philosophical zombie, right? Because you can have people who have aphantasia and anarolia, and usually they found that majority of aphantasia and anarolia people come together, so they can. So most aphantasia people cannot have inner monologue either. So what do they have in their heads?
I don't know.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that does not mean they're not sensing though. They do see. They
Right.
just can't see external images in their heads, like anything outside of their perspective. But again, here's the craziest part. I think I told you before, but basically they've done experiments on aphantasia. They did something called reorientation tasks. They told aphantasia people and normal people to
The shape rotators.
shape rotating to see if they can solve it, and the more complex they could follow a graph. What they found is aphantasia people also follows a graph, it's just slightly longer delayed. So they found that they are solving the rotating task in their minds just unconsciously and less efficiently.
Interesting.
So that goes back to the question, right? Can you prove it?
Yeah.
Because these things could go down to more. That's why psychology used to be pseudoscience. Right now, a lot of people still debate about it, but modern day social sciences do agree they are science because they use scientific method.
My mom is a psychologist, and if she, for whatever reason, watches this, she'll not disagree.
Yeah.
But as a psychologist in psychology, it is a pseudoscience.
Yeah. It's
Because there's no such thing as a control.
Well, there is, but it depends on the experiment. Yeah.
Yes and no, because Aldous Huxley, I think, said it really well. There's no such thing as an average human. So yes, you can apply the same principles to other humans, but there's no such thing as a baseline model control human. So the entire premise of operating on, well, we're going to change these, there's certain variables that can be controlled.
But the Gaussian distribution. I think the debate is that whether you can set the normal as the normal distribution, right? They have the extremes and then the majority. So again, this goes back into like, what do you define as the baseline?
Yeah.
Because they found that most human trends are in a bell curve.
Yeah.
So there is some sort of random but normal distribution, Gaussian distribution, the bell curve. So if you, that's why they said there's no such thing as neurotypical, because everything's on a spectrum. You can either be.
But I wonder if that is, you get that distribution for everything though, right? Because I know you get it for height, right?
There's a great video on Veritasium called The Power Law.
Yes, Power Law. That video is amazing.
That's why I actually contend with the Gaussian distribution model, because it is a nice averaging. But under the assumption there is an average to be made. And Huxley argues, and you've heard of Brave New World. He has a book that follows it called Brave New World Revisited, and I read it about 10 times. Look up Brave New World Revisited. It is fantastic. You can actually find the PDF online, and you can scroll through it. But he talks about hypnosis and mind control and all these things. And for me, the idea that, if I can... well, go ahead.
Have you read Waking Up? By Sam, it's amazing.
Hopefully it's not Sam Altman.
No, it's not Sam Altman. Sam Harris.
Hopefully it's not Sam Harris. I don't know. I can't stand Sam Harris. He is a pseudo intellectual in my opinion.
But if you read this book and you look at the research that he has cited, and all the psychological neuroscience research, those are they do show like the trippy side of consciousness. Like they say that, do you know the split brain experiment? Where you split the brain and then there's two sides of you. But like it just shows that the mind, the idea of the mind is just so complicated and it's so, I would say, virtual, abstract, that it's hard to probe directly. And but the Veritasium video, they did say that there are systems that are inherently Gaussian and there are systems inherently logarithmic. So the neurons, by the way, neuron functions is logarithmic, which is interesting. But other than that, anything that's more statistically random falls onto.
But I think that's the idea, is that there's this randomness that's kind of superimposed, because there's really not as much variety as you'd think. Like I think the randomness isn't like, well, I think in Veritas they talk about different sizes of shoes. Nobody's going to be wearing like a 1. Nobody's going to be wearing like a 15. There are outliers, but there's a Gaussian distribution. Look up real quick. It is called the Asch conformity experiment. ASCHE. Yeah, or maybe there's not an E on the end. This is why I dispute averaging and trends for humans, because if on average everybody agrees that B is the shortest one, well, the experiment shows that if that's what the consensus is, you will go along with the consensus for the survival of your species.
Yes.
I dispute that, because as humans, we have the right to dissent.
The herd mentality.
Yes, I am anti-herd mentality.
I agree. Okay, have you watched the video from Vsauce? It's called Future of Reasoning. Because
no,
he says that you should watch it. Everyone should watch
so
it.
I can see it.
Yeah. Vsauce Future of Reasoning.
How do you spell
Because
Vsauce?
VS.
it's just sauce.
Just V and then sauce.
Sauce. Yeah, that one, first one. And then you type Future of Reasoning. It's one of his most.
Oh, well, why didn't you have me do that?
There.
Oh, there we go.
Yes. This one, everyone needs to watch it because they found that there's three different kinds of things you need to know. For example, when you have a jar of jelly beans, just one image, a jar of jelly beans, right? You have 3 groups, 2 or 3 groups. One is just individuals putting in their guess of how many jelly beans is in there. The second group is groups of people talking about how many jelly beans are in there. And then a third group, which is the wisdom of crowds, which is you just take the average of every individual one.
Yeah.
So if you take, that's why statistics is so important, is if you make sure it's not biased. So that's
I think in psychology, it's inevitably biased.
Yes, but it depends on the source of bias, right? Is it inherent or is it from external sources? So
I think it's inherent, right?
Yes.
Because the human cognitive bias is
evolutionary.
The Asch conformity experiment. We are biased towards being with the herd.
So if
going against the herd is an outlier outside of the Gaussian distribution, it is statistically less likely to happen. But it is also, and this is something interesting with bees, the scouter bees, or whatever they call the forager bees.
Oh yeah.
It is due to the forager bees, the outlier forager bees that find new hives that secure the stability and prolonged, success of bees. So if on average none of the bees are able to find new hives, it is only these random outlier bees, these dissenting bees. I think his name's Steve Kirscher is the one who did the study on the bees. They're basically showing that you must have dissenting opinion for society to develop and progress.
Like negative feedback.
Yes.
But that's why the conformity experiment only works if there are peers there, the stooges.
Yes, and the stooges, you have to have them part of the game.
If you take out the stooges, everyone's accurate. Almost everyone, unless the person himself.
And just to give a quick, brief rundown in case anybody's not familiar with the Asch conformity experiment, but there's a couple different ones. They have one with the bars and the lines, and you pick which one. My favorite one is
the curve.
No, not the curve. There's one where they have like a waiting room at a doctor's office, and there's a little red light on the door, and every time the doctor comes out, there's a red light. It turns on when the doctor comes out. They call somebody's name, but there's stooges in the waiting room. And every time that red light goes off, everybody stands up. So every time the doctor comes out of the door, everybody stands up and sits back down. And so they have these new patients that come in, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
Doing it?
I haven't read
And they start doing it. And it's the same idea. And so for me, I am emphatically in opposition to that mindset. But it is inevitable of humans. If let's say I'm driving down the street and I see all the cars merging into the left lane, I'm like, guess I probably should merge too. There's no traffic cones, no nothing. I'm just like, I guess I just followed the herd.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. Why? Because a long time ago, the only way we could survive to get water was to follow the herd.
Yes.
And so it's ingrained in us to be part of society. We have to just kind of give up our freedom.
My question is, though,
our
because
uniqueness, maybe.
You talked about earlier, and that, like, you sort of try to go against the grain, right? And
as much as I can.
So... What is that though, right? But like, why are there some people who constantly go against that? Constantly try to be the outlier, almost. Maybe not try to, but maybe it's just
a natural inheritance.
Sometimes feels innate, right? Is that maybe just like a random
I think
dies
I think it maybe has, at least for me, it comes in kind of two forms. There's a part of me where I just don't. There's the motto of the Royal Society, nullius in verba, which means on the word of no one. So don't take anybody's word for it. Prove it to yourself.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of I don't really, it's not a lack of trust. It's I need to understand it for myself. Like, yeah, it's a magic trick. I get that.
Yeah, it's like
I need to know how it's a magic trick. And that is a kind of maybe a selfish desire, truly.
Yes.
Like, I want to know that myself.
but that's safer.
Is that like curious?
Yeah, it's safer, but there's also I want to know this so I can share it with other people and prove to them that, I want to pull the wool out over instead of pulling it in front. I want to pull it off of people's eyes.
That's actually crazy because this video he actually talks about how you eventually realize that reasoning, at least on what general sense is, the reasoning is evolved to be a social function. That's why scientific rigor is required to make sure reasoning is not biased. And there's a saying, I forgot who said it, but basically he says that if you don't understand it, don't believe it. And I think that's a very good way. It shows epistemic humility, right? If you don't understand it, don't.
I'm glad you used the exact phrase that I have: ontological, epistemological humility, ontological confidence, and then deontological doubt. And it's those three
I
things.
think I saw it on the thing
and I was like,
too,
you picked the exact same phrase.
Yeah.
Epistemological humility.
Yeah, epistemic humility.
I'm
has
okay
been,
with not knowing.
Yes, and it's I think the most important thing is so I'm just curious, right? Just a short side note is that you said ontological confidence. So are you a quantum realist? So do you think that
I figured we'd get here, and I was like, hoping not, because I haven't had a chance. Because I watched a video on Heisenberg, basically versus everybody else. Back in the day when he was having his debate in Copenhagen interpretation. I don't know if because it's the whole hidden variables versus like local realism, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of the two camps, two groups.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know if I have a preference, because for me it could be hidden variables, but then to me you're always chasing this ephemeral entity of like, well, it could just be these other hidden variables, and well, we just need more data. We need more data.
Yeah.
But if I then capitulate to the other group and say, yeah, well, everything's local, but I also think there could be non-local like qualities or properties.
That's what John Bell was trying to say. If you either choose that's real, or either you choose that there's something real but non-local, or you say that everything
is relative.
Yeah. Or you say that
and how can it, because I'm not a relativist, but then if I say, well, it's non-local, well, then you basically say you have spooky action at a distance, and somehow things are like telling other things non-locally, non-local interference. I don't know. How do you explain that one away? So I don't know if I really believe one or another. I think I'm more ethically and logically or rationally inclined to believe that there are non-local truths. I think I've told you guys about Dialect on YouTube. He's got a channel about how, well, the channel's not all about it, but he's got a video recently about Dialect. He's got a video about it is, but he's spelling it.
Wait, what? Oh, so it's not like that?
No, you had it right. You had it right. You can look up Einstein or relativity. He's got this whole kind of deal about relativity being wrong, and I like it. Some people probably piss him off, but that's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's his channel, yeah. Why Einstein was wrong about time.
Oh, I saw another channel called Dialect with a K.
Yeah. I maybe he did change his name, I'm not sure. But I love this channel. It's all dissenting opinion, so if you don't like that kind of stuff, stay far away from it.
I think science needs dissenting opinion. I think I live by this idea where we need devil's advocate. We not in a biblical sense, but But we need more controversial
outliers.
Need controversial topics is the topic that we need to talk about most.
Well, you mentioned outliers, so for me, like in that prompt that I give, the debriefing prompt, I would rather design something for the outliers than the central Gaussian, the average.
The normal.
I would rather say, well, let me make sure that this system is safe enough even for those crazy outliers, than say, well, it's going to work for most people.
Yeah, but like, what is that? Though?
But that is a much more robust conversation, because now I have to consider all those other things, and that's why it usually takes me a lot longer. I could pump out a paper, but I'm like, yeah, but what about this? What about that?
That's
what about
why,
this?
because there's something about like what you said earlier is like pulling the wool, right, and showing other people that, and
dispelling the illusion.
Yes, I think a lot of the reason why I like talking about machine learning and I like teaching people things, and like it's really to just show, hey, look how easy it is.
Yeah.
Right. All you have to do is spend a little bit more time with
The
it. Right.
opposite of gatekeeping.
Einstein talked about it all the time. I'm no genius. I just spend more time with the problem. And so, that's why I try to iterate to people like, no, it's really just brute forcing a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's just like, so, but like where does what is that though? Because like, is that a
I think that's the
curiosity
human
thing?
spirit.
Is that just trying to? But like some people don't seem to have that. Like,
I think everybody has it. It's just applied to different things, and sometimes it's applied to stuff that doesn't really matter.
And I think an interesting thought would be like.
so do you think
It's like
you
when
just
people
get stuck on?
They start
like,
arguing about, like. I probably shouldn't say.
Okay, well, wait, don't you think there's a parallel though? Because you know how like AlphaGo, it discovers
Yes.
new ways to play Go because it stopped learning from human examples. It started exploring on its own.
Yeah.
If when humans start learning from other humans, our examples of what's right comes from other people, and naturally we're inclined to be biased. That's why a lot of the great intellectuals, when they explore something, they explore it alone. So that they can question it alone, and then once they're done, that's
Sometimes
when
they don't even write about it.
yes, and that's when once they're done, that's when they bring it to present to other intellectuals so that they can get
and
criticism.
Newton was shot down because everybody thought he was he was an alchemist, but everybody said, "No, dude, you're crazy."
Yeah, and I feel like that's how exploration should be. You explore alone. You can get advice from others, but you explore alone. Once you have a basic prototype or model, that's when you throw it out there and get criticism.
Like Galileo did.
Yeah, like Galileo until he got like
For me,
banned from science.
whether it's with science or religion, it is the dissenters who are the most interesting. Jesus of Nazareth was a dissenter. Galileo, Aristotle. Aristotle was actually, I think, Archimedes. Archimedes was killed in the Battle of Syracuse.
Socrates is a dissenter.
So, and Socrates was noted as the gadfly of the state.
Yeah, and he was forced to suicide. Seneca as well.
So, for me, anybody who is dissenting against the status quo has the most value.
Well, some of the most successful people in the world talk about how, they were just okay with no's, okay with hearing no just over and over and over again, right? And so you're always seeing someone who has a dissenting view of what you're trying to do, right? And you just like have this sort of determination and spirit to just
hear as
keep
many no's as you
going.
need.
Okay, I have just a curious question, right? Do you remember what I said about how most people are on a bell curve, and then you have when we call how social they are? So there's extremely pro-social people, there's anti-social people. They're on the outliers of the bell curve.
Yeah.
Most people are just social, right? Pro-social people are altruistic, constantly about humanity, right? And then there's anti-social people who doesn't give a fuck. But what's interesting is, don't quote me on this, but I found it somewhere, is that the higher up you climb in any system, regardless if it's in the kitchen to be a chef or in an office to become a CEO, the higher up you climb, the more likely you bump into these outliers. So the more likely you bump into the antisocial and pro-social people. And here's the interesting thing. Back in the day, when we read literature from the old times,
5 years ago, or what?
like
are we talking-
old times, like 1600s or something. They always have this villain versus heroes, right? And the villain versus hero are both always what? Outliers. They are the outliers of the bell curve, and they are also the most impactful and influential ones. Do you notice that?
Yeah. Well, it's also in the meme of you got the guy who's got the like bleh face, and then you got the cloaked IQ wizard and the normie in the middle who's like the average IQ. It's the people who are on either side are really the people making the most difference.
But now here's the real question. If everyone, of course, I hope it doesn't happen, but if I hope more people becomes more skeptical and dissenting, but if everyone tries to be the outlier, how can you have an outlier left?
Right. It's a paradox.
Yeah.
I think there's another similar thing called the
have to have
paradox of intolerance. The paradox of tolerance. Like if you become so tolerant of everything, then or if you become intolerant of everything, you can also become tolerant of everything. It's a paradox of intolerance.
Yeah.
I can't remember who talked about it, but anyway. It's like one. It's like if everything was suffering,
Well, no,
Nothing would be for you.
if everyone's special, no one's special.
No, but I'm just moving with anything. Like if everything was always dark when there would be no light.
Yeah.
So it's like as soon as you take the extreme away, then the thing isn't extreme anymore. It's just normal.
Yin and yang.
Have you heard of? Taoism?
Yeah.
Sometimes Taoism, but
The
Taoism.
Tao of Physics is one of my favorite books.
The books. I was gonna have you pull that up.
Yeah.
The Tao of Physics. Yep. I find myself torn between, maybe not even torn, trying to merge Taoism and analytical philosophy.
Makes sense.
So kind of Eastern.
It's like what Alan wants to say. Yeah.
I mean, have you ever heard of the I Ching?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a
Yes.
big fan of the I Ching.
The I Ching and the Tao Te Ching. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the second one,
Yeah.
but the I Ching was referenced by Leibniz when he was just constructing something called the Charactera Universalis, which is kind of this universal language of math. And I'm very much an advocate that there is, obviously lots of different languages out there, but there should be, especially we're talking about AGI, there needs to be a universal language.
Lingua franca.
What's that?
It's the language of business.
Huh.
So, which in the world right now is English. I was gonna say American.
Yeah.
So lingua
yeah.
franca for the world is the 6 languages found in the United Nations.
Oh.
So Chinese, English, Chinese,
But
English.
for me, mathematics is
technically a lingua franca.
for it should be, because I can go to any country in the world and speak mathematics.
So the issue is
Write it.
Spit some mathematics.
Yeah.
because the issue is
Nabla crossed R. Like, oh, what are you talking about? The curl?
the curve. But the issue with
Wait,
language,
Nabla? What is Nabla?
Nabla is the upside
the
down
upside down
delta.
yeah.
So like the gradient.
Oh, the gradient.
The Laplacian.
Oh, okay,
as
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Nabla.
So when studying linguistics as well as studying information theory, and you combine it, you will bump into machine learning as well. Is that they found that no matter how you try to optimize language, there will always be language entropy, because language is an abstraction. When I
Yeah.
say blue, there's so many kinds of blue.
Right.
When I say triangle, there's so many kinds of triangle. You are
Platonic forms.
Yes, you are always
You think of dog,
compressing.
I think of a different dog than you do. We all know what we mean, but we're talking about
Compression.
dog. Right.
So that's why they say that language, that's why there's a constant in LLM loss function, which is the natural language entropy. Is that there's an inherent entropy associated with
Yeah, because at some point everybody's going to start saying, on God, no cap. And then
Yeah.
what's the AI going to do?
Well, and but like at the same time, I think we talked about this just the other day in your office, where we were talking about how like logos are starting to get more simple and things like that.
Buildings look less interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but also at the same time,
Minimalistic, right?
we see things in shapes and structures, right, in our mind, right, and a lot of people will allude to, well, this is what we need AI to be able to do, is think in these structures. I forget exactly what like the actual term is. It's like it's like some kind of structure of the mind, or being able to see structures in the mind. But anyways,
you'll get there.
yeah, but so I don't even know where I was going with
Your
that,
chain of
honestly.
thought-
Trying to think of
His chain of thought got cut off. Someone put back the token.
But
Your session has expired.
yeah, so my thought is like, okay, well, maybe that's just the natural progression, right? Is we want everything to be these simple structures so that it can be universal, right?
I mean, I think that's why Leibniz was referencing the I Ching, was because the Chinese language can capture so much in such a single symbol.
Yeah.
Because it's a logo. It came from a logogram.
Yeah.
So and also because Chinese is semi-pyrographic, which means the pronunciation has nothing to do with the letter itself. So what's it called? That's what have you watched Arrival?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great.
Oh yeah,
movie.
that's a good one.
So
It's a solid. It's
that's
an
a
underrated movie.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
they say the two pillars of civilization is they're arguing one
Where
is
they're
language.
trying to communicate, right?
So
What's the second pillar?
so-
Language and what else?
science. At the beginning, when she went up the helicopter, and the science guy read her book, and it's like
Yeah.
the pillar of civilization is language. Well, no, it's science. So they're arguing, but at the
Yeah.
end, the way they solve the problem is because of both of them. So
Yeah, I mean, you can't have science without language.
yes, because both are describing stuff and both are communicating stuff. Both is just trying to describe and express about internal and external worlds.
Right.
And
I mean, that's where natural philosophy comes from. That's
Yeah.
why, I mean,
It's
as
a
much as I
philosophy.
think, yeah, okay, I'm a scientist or sure, I'm a natural philosopher at heart.
so that at the end of the day, I don't think there can be a perfect mind, because at the end of the day, you will have so much you're always compressing information. You
Yeah.
will lose some fidelity. That's why there's no such thing as photographic memory. Actually, it's called eidetic
Yeah.
memory, because you are memorizing a lot of symbols and a lot of data, but there's other details you're always missing.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
that's why on my website, on the header, if you go back to it really quick,
Yeah.
you'll see that the little slogan or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, you scroll up to the top, you'll just see the header at the probing the fidelity of nature and reason.
Oh,
So in a weird way, there's always something we'll never be able to know.
Yeah.
Because, for example, math, right? They prove incompleteness, and then they also prove the undecidability of many body systems. For example, they tried to use quantum computers and also quantum simulations to try to prove whether or not a spectral gap of a solid state material exists, and they proved that it's undecidable. You cannot definitively say whether or not you can find out a material has a spectral gap in its conduction and whatever band, I forgot. A band gap. It's not spectral gap. A band gap.
Yeah.
So and then there's incomputability, right? The halting problem. An algorithm cannot predict its own outcome. Humans cannot predict our next thought. Our thoughts always come from what precedes it.
So, do you think we could figure out all of the questions that are unknowable?
So no. So,
I think maybe there's something to be said about could we figure out what all the questions are, but I don't think we can figure out all the answers.
So like what he said, right? We can get asymptotically close to truth, but we can never get to truth. It's asymptotic.
Yeah. Kind of on that note, if you go back to the homepage really quick, the most recent article on dynamical systems, this is kind of like my new pet project.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
I have to apologize because I do not have this talk up yet on the YouTube, and partially because I've lost it, and I'm trying to find. I'm pretty sure I know sort of in the general area where it is, but it got lost whenever I was taking all
You
of
mean my last talk?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All the photos
Yeah, no worries.
and videos, but
Yeah, if you find it.
I should be able to find
Okay,
it because I was about to upload Dr. Teo's last talk from the other day, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta find Professor.
No, yeah, if you find it, cool. If not, no worries.
Yeah.
But the way this is kind of, I'm going to start laying these out. You'll see a table of contents on the right, but just scroll all the way to the bottom of the table of contents, hit part 9.
Okay.
And this is all about kind of the underdetermination or indeterminacy of product systems. So this whole idea is F equals MA, F equals QE. There's a guy named Lewin. He described behavior as a response and a drive product. So say I've got a human being. That's a person.
Response and a drive.
So yeah, the human being responds. Maybe there's an external drive. But the whole point that I make in this thesis is that everything comes down to an intrinsic property multiplied by an extrinsic property. And those two things result in an outcome, an observable. Okay. But all observables are inherently buried or muddied, I should say, with the product. So unless science can identify and control those intrinsic and extrinsic or extrinsic properties, there is nothing anybody can say about cause and effect of this is entirely an intrinsic thing or entirely an extrinsic thing. And this comes from the argument of nature versus nurture. Because if nature is the intrinsic property, what are you born with? What are your initial conditions? The extrinsic properties are like, well, what's the environment that you're in? What's the socioeconomic status or the field
lines?
You got it. It's the field. So if you go all the way up, you don't have to read the whole thing. It's a lot. It's
all the way up.
Just start at part 1. Just start at part 1 and maybe scroll through a little bit. Of course, you got F equals MA, F equals QE. Those look really nice together. But if you scroll down, there's my standard kind of pattern. Forces are sources times field. And I joke that if you took the word force and you took the word source and multiplied by the word field, you get the word force. Which I woke up in the middle of the night when I was working on my thesis and I was like, this is stupid, but it's real.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Wordplay.
Yeah.
But the source is the intrinsic thing, and the field, as Albert alluded to, is the extrinsic thing. And those two things interact and produce an observable.
Exactly like Wikipedia, and I like it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, hopefully it's the good thing.
Because you got a note.
A nice little note, yeah.
Kind of like how Wikipedia does. Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it easy to
I think
read.
it's in some ways better than Wikipedia. I don't know.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Well, I want it to be easy to read, but there's your Lewin's equation. The behavior is the function of person and their environment. It's the intrinsic person interacting with an extrinsic environment. And that behavior is not easily separated into a purely intrinsic or extrinsic cause. You know, if somebody said, well, why did this happen? It's because that. It's like, well, you can only prove that if you have every other variable that wouldn't influence it falsified.
And also because a lot of real world systems are non-linear, right? They have bottoms up and top down, and then if it's many body or many variables, that means it's multivariable. That means it has chaos.
Yeah,
inherently.
That is. So unfortunately, right now you're only seeing chapters 1 through 9. There are 18 chapters, but it starts in the linear field. So you can see the field thing if you keep scrolling down and try to get through quick. Newton's universal law, Coulomb's law. You relate them together. Potential energy. You can relate those very similar. Basically, is the gradient of a potential function. So they've got a similarity there. Keep going down, you got working energy, just combining potential to kinetic energy, and if there's any losses of the system. And then in your linear mode, you have these
energy function.
your standard mechanical conservation of energy statement. But scroll up really quick, just one more. You got the potential energy, kinetic energy, and dissipative energy, and those correspond to the 3 passive components of an electronic system. If you scroll down, you were talking about RLC circuits a moment ago.
Yeah.
Well, Heinrich Hertz was the first one to measure the speed of light using an RLC circuit, an oscillator, transceiver, and receiver. Transmitter and receiver, but together it'd be a transceiver. Below that's the mass spring damper, which, if you think about it in the same idea, it's an RLC circuit, a mechanical version. So I start connecting this analogy and I say, what about hydraulics? Well, we have a thing called a restrictor, a valve, a flow, an orifice of some kind that restricts flow. There's something called inertance. So I've got a long slug of fluid moving through a pipe.
Governors.
Yep, Maxwell's governors, exactly. So anyway, trying to connect these 3 components, I kind of land on this idea of ability, activity, and reality. Ability is the amount of potential that you have. Activity is how much energy that's been converted into kinetic energy. And reality is how much of that got lost. So when you go down to effort, flow, and constitutive laws, this connects all of them together using what's called bond graph theory.
Wait, I'm sorry, can we?
Yeah.
So reality is the dissipation energy inversible.
Like you neglect friction, neglect air resistance. Well, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to consider losses of friction and losses of air resistance.
Okay, gotcha.
But in bond graph theory, Henry Painter, I think, kind of started this whole idea.
Yeah.
That you can relate things by 2 variables, which is the effort and the flow. So the effort here would be voltage, the flow would be the current, and they're proportional via some intrinsic property. And that intrinsic property here would be resistance. For an inductor, it'd be the inductance. For a capacitor, that's capacitance. No surprise. But for gravity, you get something a little more interesting. Gravitational resistance. It's like a drag force, a viscous force, like I said. Here, you could have gravitational inertance. This is resistance to mass flow, say like a flywheel. Compliance. This is mass storage under potential, so maybe a spring of some kind. But anyway, putting all these things together, and you keep going down, there's mechanical, there's the spring mass damper, putting those drag forces, mass forces, that's Hooke's law basically. I did the same thing for hydraulic systems, and then tied it all together here with a nice pretty table. So if you look at those, there's a very easily identifiable formalism between all three of those regimes. Actually, all four, if you consider the translational mechanical and the rotational mechanical forms. But in the pattern, effort is resistance times flow. It's also inertance times the rate of change, the time rate of change of flow. And flow is also related to the compliance times the time rate of change of effort. So you kind of have these three interacting passive components. So if you keep scrolling down, again, as Albert said, this is very linear right now. I move into the bond graph stuff, get your terminal pairs, blah, blah, blah. This is kind of just filling in what leads up to what's called impedance. Well, if you take the product of the effort and flow, you get, the ratio of product or effort. I messed up. I said it too fast. Impedance is the ratio of effort to flow. If you take the product of effort and flow, you get power, which is pretty crazy. I never figured that out until about 3 nights ago.
That makes sense.
Yeah, power is the product of those two. Impedance is the ratio of the two. I did it for electrical systems, gravitational systems, hydraulic systems, and then kind of for translational rotational mechanical systems.
So P equals IR, current is the flow, and
V
resistance
equals
is
IR.
the effort?
V would be IR there, but if you're talking about P, it'd be IV.
Oh, yeah,
Current
sorry.
times power.
Well, I squared R.
I squared R? Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, you get this generalized form, which I say, well, okay, you have impedance is the ratio of effort to flow, and power is the product of effort and flow. And you can get the same thing, electrical power, gravitational power, hydraulic power. So they all have the same form. And then my bridge to dynamical systems, where things become inevitably nonlinear.
Non-linear.
Yeah. So I've got this beautiful table of everything that I've ever wanted to do since I graduated master's school, finished my thesis. And if you look at the work energy principle for all of those, they're the exact same thing, which is mind-blowing to me. Same with the flux values, power values, impedance values. Everything below that is just kind of resistance, conductance, capacitance, stiffness, kind of material. These are all intrinsic properties of a system. So the idea for me is I need to be able to separate what is natural in the system, what is intrinsic, what is the thing that it's the natural thing, right? I have control over extrinsic property. I can control the field strength. I can control the mass that I put up on a hill. But the amount of gravity that thing experiences on the hill depends entirely on the Earth. I can't change the Earth's gravitational field. Now, I could simulate a different gravitational field, but that's a different story. But anyway, kind of identifying the product and the ratio of intrinsic and extrinsic properties. And to me, this is somewhat novel. But if you keep going down, then it becomes, there's the mathematical framework. So I work on your spring mass damper, nonlinear ODE. So keep going down. You get your state space equations turned into a matrix. Their mass matrix, stiffness matrix, and dampening matrix down here. And you put all those together and you get this nice, beautiful equation. Keep going a little bit more. There's a physical interpretation of if I wanted to connect a chain of mass dampers together, make a continuum. Well, if I make that continuum not just a chain, but also a wave, a plane, right? I could chain them together in 2 dimensions. And what do you know? You end up with the wave equation.
Beautiful.
Both the damped and the undamped wave equations. And these all come from that same premise.
Wow.
And then you get the field operation or the field evolution as an operator.
Is this the same Riley?
Rayleigh scattering?
Yeah. Yep. Same dude.
Yep.
Okay.
And so there you can see the form appearing that basically I have an operator, L theta, which is kind of carrying the intrinsic properties of the system, whether it's a gradient or just a scaling factor. But it basically tells the system how its own nature will behave. The extrinsic source, S, could be a driving force, something like that. Maybe I have a forced oscillator. But you get this kind of cool form.
Extrinsic source.
Think about if I had a mass spring damper and I just let gravity do it.
Yeah.
I could also force it. I could give that spring a force, an external force, not an internal force like gravity.
And S is also used for action, right?
Yeah, it is. Sometimes they'll use it as the
So
action or the pointing vector. Sometimes other places.
So have you looked into Noether's theorem?
Yeah, it's gonna make its way into later chapters.
Okay.
But there, if you go back up one little bit, you can see that equation right there, dw dt. W here is actually a oh my gosh, I just lost the word. What am I? Not a vector.
Scalar?
No, it's not a scalar.
Tensor.
It's a tensor. No, there's another word I'm looking for. Why am I blanking on this word right now?
Matrix?
Magnitude.
I don't know why I'm blanking on the word. I just worked on this.
Describe it.
It's a set of component vectors. So W has U and V, and U and V are both state.
Partial derivatives?
Well, it does. Partial derivatives are how we describe the evolution of the field, the system. Go back up just a little bit because I'm mad that I can't remember what this thing is called. Keep going up to where I define W up here. First order state field. It's a field. It's not a vector. It's a vector field. So W is composed of U and V. Right, if you think of U as a one-dimensional.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we have a field vector that's being passed into this. But notice now it's not written as something times something. It's L of theta operating on W. It's an operator, not just multiplication. So this is where I deviate or maybe expand from the linear regime to the nonlinear regime. So now we're in the nonlinear regime. And you get your classical conservation equations. And if you keep going down, I can basically combine all these together with heat. You got your heat conduction equation, Fourier's law. Put those two things together, you get your standard evolution equation. If you keep going down, you get mass diffusion and Fick's equation, Fick's law. Put those together, you get an evolution of diffusion. Keep going down, you can do charge transport, moving things around with Ohm's law. Gauss's law also. And I think there's one, linear elasticity. And this one's probably the most complicated because it involves tensors. So the elasticity is a third order tensor. And
Is that the Navier-Stokes?
Nope, that's coming up next.
Okay.
Navier-Stokes is in the fluid section. So use Newtonian's law of viscosity, plug it in as your constitutive relationship, plug it into the conservation equation, and you get the evolution of Navier-Stokes. And for me, this is kind of my magnum opus right now. It's collecting everything that I wanted from my thesis, like these sources, fields, and forces, and developing them into kind of a rigorous mathematical framework that hopefully will capture all of classical physics.
Yeah.
That's my goal, is to capture everything.
I love this. It gives you sort of like an overview of physics, right? And
how it relates to each other.
In the pattern, right? For me, it's the pattern. Because I don't need to teach you everything in electrical science and thermal engineering and thermodynamics and fluid mechanics. If you know the pattern, apply it to any system. And the next system, for me, is economics. So you can apply this to economic systems as well.
Financial analysis and all that.
Yeah, I wish I would have had this going into like Physics 1.
Veritasium
so I could see like an overview.
Yeah,
like,
Veritasium made a very good video on how you can use math to model social behavior or financial or economic behavior.
And what's funny about that is I watched that video about 3 days after I published the first draft of this, and I was like, dude, there's no way the universe is telling me that we're like all on the same wavelength right now.
Yeah.
Because I freaked out. I was like, dude, can I could find it on my Discord. I sent it to my buddy Kagan. I said, dude, I sent my draft to you. It was like December 7th, and the video came out on like the 11th, and I was like, dude. This is what I've been talking about for a long time.
Crazy.
So Noether's theorem will find its way in as well. But for right now, this kind of wraps up. If you keep scrolling down, and then we can stop yapping about this part. There's the entire pattern summarized for those. So you can see the intrinsic properties: viscosity, stiffness, conductivity, diffusivity, and I guess conductivity again, but for heat. And one thing that's worth noting, look at that second to last column. Scroll up a little bit more. You notice they all have units, almost all of them, except for electricity for some reason, all have a constant meter squared per second. I found that really interesting.
I mean, they have to be equivalent, right?
But what it says, scroll down a little bit more. Hold on, go up a little bit. I think it's in that paragraph.
Oh, this one.
No, there's one line, but basically what it says is this tells the system. Nah, shoot, I can't remember what it is. Basically, that meter squared per second tells you how the state field has to evolve every second. So the area of that field develops or evolves every second.
So it's like a second order.
It's second order differential equation. Mm-hmm. Wow. So starting with Newton's laws, kind of developing a nonlinear regime for,
but then again,
hopefully all of classical physics.
But there's also the reason why Navier-Stokes equation is still a millennium problem. Is
go back up that red note there. You'll see why. A critical distinction. The Navier-Stokes equation contains the nonlinear advection terms, which basically says that the field interacts with itself. So the linear regime falls apart, and I even say that right there that this theme will be more fully developed in part whatever 19 or whatever the heck that is.
Yeah, especially
so we'll get there.
Especially once you realize that most systems, once they go into 3 dimensions, the field equations gets nearly intractable.
Yeah.
Without numerical methods, analytically they cannot. There's no exact
solution. The general form of this is infinitely dimensioned.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, this is supposed to be for infinite dimensions field systems. Wow. So, but it just depends on how well
infinite, you can. For state space, right?
For state space, correct. But if you keep scrolling down, we can wrap this part up. I just think it's kind of neat that all of this comes down to a very similar form. This manifold thing, the whole idea for me is, well, if the intrinsic field, or the intrinsic property is interacting in an extrinsic field, what happens when that intrinsic property permanently, or at least temporarily, changes the field that it's interacting with? Right? In classical electromagnetism, I believe the point is that a charge can't interact with its own field. Well, what happens when one does? Because imagine I'm walking in the snow, this is the analogy I gave you, and I leave snow prints. Well, I've clearly I left a mark. So how do we consider that if the system moves through its extrinsic field, that it doesn't leave behind a mark of its previous existence? And that doesn't also then affect its later evolution. Correct. Self-interaction.
Have you heard of Ealing potential?
Say it again?
Ealing potential in quantum electrodynamics.
No, that's why, because I haven't gotten to quantum yet.
Yeah. So they found that a lot of quantum systems can self-interact.
Self-interact, yeah. And that's why for me right now, my focus is to, and I don't mean this like I'm going to solve a problem. This is just a framework. This isn't like I've solved something new. This is just me trying to kind of, I found myself as I'm a synthesizer. I'm not I don't think I'm like coming up with new ideas. I like looking at all the ideas that are in front of me and trying to put them into a nice little ball. Yeah. So for me, that's what this is. And I want to do this with classical mechanics. I want to put everything that is in classical physics into this framework. And then hopefully I'll find a clue or something that will lead me into a way of describing at least statistical mechanics. And then maybe that will lead into quantum.
Because a lot of physicists, a lot of scientists, they consider most of statistical mechanics still considered classical. It's just that because of how
Boltzmann mechanics and things,
because of how many-body or multivariable it is, they have to consider it stochastic because you can't keep track of every variable.
Right.
So unknown.
Like gas laws. Yeah.
You take the average. So okay. So I'm just curious. So what is your main takeaway, and where are you planning to go next?
Yeah, my main takeaway, kind of again, that last part, chapter 9 or section 9.
The order?
Well, just the idea that I have an intrinsic thing and an extrinsic thing, right? This kind of nature and nurture, and there's always an interaction between those two things. And so, kind of back to psychology, if I'm going to measure the behavior and attribute it to the person or the environment, I have to have a very clean experiment that can control those parameters with some level of precision and accuracy. Because if I say, oh, well, that was just all the way it was going to be anyway, who cares? Or it's all my fault because I'm this way, right? No, like there's lots of other things that could have affected that outcome. And so, but it basically says, and hopefully in the way I'm imagining it in my head, reading with Werner Heisenberg's Physics and Philosophy, is a book called Physics and Philosophy. The uncertainty principle is basically buried right there. That there is an inherent uncertainty
to a system.
to any system that has a product of an extrinsic and an intrinsic property, position and momentum.
I think that's a good way to end it.
Well, I feel like, especially since you're working on the next part, I feel like
I had to actually hide. It's got 18, 19 chapters. I hid them because I was like, I don't want
it's
anybody
not
like looking
complete
at.
yet.
Yeah.
They're work in progress.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
And
Oh, that's awesome.
technically 8 is too, but this whole idea of bringing it into a manifold with partial
Yeah.
differential equations kind of leads me into I mentioned Dialect, and I think he has a really good channel. But the idea that space-time curvature isn't really real, that it's just an abstract concept, like the whole idea that gravity arises due to space-time curvature, I disagree with.
I agree.
I think it's an artifact, and we could model electricity magnetism with curvature.
It's like
But
using
the
different language, right?
Yeah, the manifold is the language of the curvature of the state space. And I think that's a real thing, but it's not like I can touch it.
Yeah,
But
it's a state space, not a real space.
Yes.
That's
so
why
for
I
me, the
don't
manifold is the space-time.
That's why I don't like people when they say space and time is literally curving. There's no evidence for that.
Yeah. Well, and there's some good videos. I love Alpha Phoenix, and he talks about how you can imagine kind of a falling reference frame on Earth, like we're actually being
Yes.
accelerated up at 9.81. And I'm like, yes and no. I mean, it isn't wrong, but it's the same way you could argue about fictitious forces.
Yes.
It's a framework.
And it's like you can either say yes, space and time is curved, or it's like what Alpha Phoenix and a few others say that you can model space as flowing. You're being carried by space downwards.
And it's somehow accumulating though,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it not. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's where
And
it's a paradox kind of.
So it's just multiple different mathematical languages you use
Yeah.
to describe the same system. That's why math is so beautiful, is that
Yes.
if you have logically coherent different models, matrix, algebra,
Yep.
linear algebra, matrix, tensors, differential equations, they all lead up to the same
And that's
conclusion.
really, I mean, to answer your question, that's my goal here, is because I've read textbooks, I've taken all the classes, whatever. I say all the classes. I took all the classes that I had to take. I don't understand the world the way the textbook gives it to me. I need to write my equations the way my brain sees it, and I'm like, there's a pattern here. It's everywhere.
That's, in my opinion, that's Sabina also says something similar, which I completely agree, which is alluding to what you say. If we take math too literally, that's what happens. We will think space and time is literally flowing
Yeah.
or literally curving,
Right.
or like string theory, right? So Alan Watts and Buddhism and Taoism, they also have a saying, which is Bruce Lee also said something like that. Is that I'm paraphrasing here.
Biwata, my friend.
No, I guess I'll paraphrase it. Basically, he's trying to say that the menu is not the food. The description is not the thing itself.
Yeah.
So we can describe the gravity with analogy using manifold geometry, right? But that is just an analogy.
Yeah,
we're
that's
using,
not the source of gravity.
Yeah, we're using an analogy to curvature to describe gravity. But gravity itself, is it curvature? We don't know. We're using that to describe it though.
And it works out really well.
And we can describe it with flow too. We can use it. You can use EM fields vectors to describe gravity too. And either way, you get the similar or same solution. So math is just another language. I really want more people to understand that if you take math too literally, you will bump into ontological and
Yes.
epistemic problems.
Yeah, that's it. It's the ontological
Yeah,
issues.
yeah.
Interesting.
The menu is not the food. The description is not the object. When I say there's a green beanbag, you cannot picture exactly what I'm saying because of language entropy.
Because I could have imagined a little square beanbag that I throw in the game, but you're talking about that one.
Yeah, that's why. Exactly. See, so you that's why if language entropy has its limits, so does math, right? Because remember what George E. Bach says. He says that all models are wrong, but some models are useful.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not to say Newton's gravity's model's wrong. It's just less accurate than Einstein's when it comes to larger scales.
Right.
So you
Large
see what I mean?
masses, fast speeds.
So I think a good way to put it is physics always works only in ideal and constrained situations.
Yeah, spherical cow approximations.
And Werner Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, that's why I like the book that I introduced, which is, I'll show you later, it's called The Quantum Challenge. They show that Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is well derived, but if you take it literally, you hit a wall, because when they try to use some case examples, for example, the mass or diameter, wavelength diameter of a neutron or atom or electron, some cases it works. Some cases you get very wrong errors.
Well, I know that because it was German, Heisenberg's German.
Yeah.
It probably, from what Dr. Wilson's told me, it translates better to the unsharpness principle. Because it's not that we're uncertain. We can actually be very certain. But we can only choose which thing we're certain about.
So
I'm just gonna be honest. I gotta get out of here, guys.
Okay. Well,
time for dinner.
did we set a record?
Yeah,
Yes,
it is a record. Wow.
Like a
most
nice
definitely.
4-hour podcast.
Yeah.
3 hours and 47,
Let's go.
48 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess it's a good way. And then
Yeah,
because
dude.
I look forward to it.
It's always a
Yeah.
pleasure. It's always
Very fun.
a good time. I always
Amazing
am
time.
just like super pumped to have you come in here and talk to us because it's always fun.
I never lose excitement whenever you come to.
Well,
Yeah.
there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Always. So we'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah,
Alright.
especially when it comes to AI, dude.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. And then
Well, maybe
of course
next
you
time
add
I'm on,
physics on top of
we'll
that.
talk about some of the AI stuff that I've made.
Yeah, because I would like to dive into like what are these 120, 50 pages you said that.
The 128, that's about 70 of them right there.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I took out the rest and it needs to get
Okay, so you're
easier work
still
done.
trying to like work
Yeah,
through
really
them?
what I'm doing, I
polish
just
them.
kind of sift through every now and again.
Okay.
Yeah. I try to get through a chapter a night.
Crazy.
It's
Awesome.
like I'm basically reading my own thoughts. It's super weird.
Yeah. So and then so you're giving a talk next week?
To SPS?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I guess I might be.
Oh, okay. Well, because I know that you talked about.
I know we talked about it. I kind of I don't remember if we set a date or not. I know we
Yeah,
set a date for
we
this,
did.
so
Uh-huh.
we'll figure that out.
Okay.
Yeah, because I would like to.
No worries. Well,
But I may,
coming soon.
if it's on that, I might need a little more time. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out though. Either
It's
way.
up to you. So yeah. All right. Well,
Cool.
anyways, until.
Yeah. Good
Until-
times, y'all.
Until next time.
All right. It's so funny because we actually don't need to do the clap.
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting.
But we for some reason do it anyways.
Yeah, it's a ritual.
Yeah.